The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Luker's Jaguar. The big event is on now with exclusive discounts on approved used Jaguars. It's game day, and this is the home of Scottish football. It's Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Good afternoon and welcome to Clyde One Super Scoreboard. On a huge day of League and Cup action, Celtic and Kilmarnock are both out to make the League Cup final when they meet at Hampden later. The winner will take on either Rangers or Aberdeen for the silverware after those two lock horns tomorrow. But before any of that, a massive day of league action including Motherwell Ross County, St Johnstone Livingston and Hibs Dundee United in the company of Gordon Daziel, Mark Wilson and Hugh Keevins.
We've got a cup final followed by a semi-final. Not the usual order of things, but how else can you look at Motherwell Ross County other than a must win for Stevie Hamill's Motherwell side? If they fail to beat Ross County and Ross County get a result, Motherwell would go joint bottom of the Premiership, and that is distressing in the week that they lose their CEO Alan Burrows. And then on to Hampden, 5:30 kickoff. Who would Ash Taylor rather play against, Giacomakis or Kyogo? Don't answer that. It's regrettable if you tell the truth.
Yeah, big weekend ahead. Semi-finals obviously taking course over 2 days, but the big one, Motherwell v Ross County, shaping up to be a huge fixture for Stevie Hamill and Malky Mackay, and elsewhere as well. Hibs Dundee United finding a bit of form recently. Hibs, Lee Johnson, criticism still there, and middle of the table clash between St Johnstone and Livingston. So some good games ahead to look forward to.
I think it's a great fixture list. I really do. I think there's everything to play for in each game. The guys have touched on the importance of the game at Fir Park. Hibs, who we were criticising, their players, their manager, everything about them, they've got an opportunity to go top 6 this afternoon. And Livingston, they just keep steaming along. They've got a chance to get into top 4. And then we're looking forward to the semi-final tonight.
Yes, plenty to look forward to. Strap yourselves in. It promises to be a dramatic day. It was a dramatic night. We're already up and running in the Scottish Premiership last night. A victory for Hearts against St Mirren. One or two controversial moments to look over as the afternoon progresses as well. And when the 3 o'clock games are done, it will be over to you to have your say on the open line. I think, Hugh, if we consign ourselves for the next minute or two on the cup action that we've got today and tomorrow, this is such a crucial point in the season, isn't it?
Well, the 2 previous meetings of Kilmarnock and Celtic this season have ended in an aggregate score of Kilmarnock 0, Celtic 7. I believe that only Celtic can stop Celtic today. If Celtic turn up and play according to their quality and ability, then there can only be one winner.
Mark, you've played in many, you've watched many. It's always it's a tense part of the competition. No one likes to fall at the semi-final stage, and we're used to this in Scotland. For the 2 big teams, it's the expectation, it's the pressure of going and getting the silverware, and for the other 2, it's about trying to cause that upset and create real history.
Yeah, of course, not hugely memorable games, semi-finals. I don't think many players like playing them because, you know, they're the necessary game, of course, to get you into that final. But for Kilmarnock, it's all about turning up in the day and hoping things go your way. You get a rub of the green, hoping that Celtic players are off it a bit. Now, reading in the newspapers today and being there myself all those years ago when Kilmarnock beat Celtic in the League Cup final, shocks can happen. But with this Celtic side, I'm with you. You've got to the level of thinking now that it's only themselves that can defeat themselves, because the strength and depth in that squad and the way they play and how relentless they are, it's incredibly difficult for anyone to match them.
As an underdog, you've got to believe, Gordon. I've been in that situation before. You need a slice of luck. You need the favourites to be off their game, and that's exactly what Kilmarnock. But there's no point Kilmarnock supporters coming up to 77 with their team to come to Hampden and just make up the numbers.
Off the road. You love a road.
Yeah.
He goes again with his roads.
I was on the sat-nav today. Look, it's a massive ask. There's no doubt about that. Celtic, fun favourites. Do I fancy Kilmarnock? Not. But you've got to believe that things can go your way. A little bit of luck, something, a decision that can go for you. You know, a wonder goal, you can hold on, great defending, great organisation. Celtic off their game. That's the excitement of cup football. But I've got to be honest, I fancy Celtic strongly.
I don't know what road you take to get from the Etihad to Old Trafford, but Man United have just equalised at home
62
to City. If you're interested,
62
head north in the 62.
The Dazzler, we were watching the game, and the Dazzler assured Mark Wilson and me that this Manchester City side would really have suited his style of play.
He did say that.
And that he would have been a better player for Man City than Erling Haaland. So there you are.
and a very controversial VAR refereeing type call for Man United's equaliser. So there we go. I'm sure we'll have plenty of our own to look forward to as the afternoon progresses. Let's start going around the grounds. We do the 3 o'clock league games first, of course. And I think it's hard to look beyond Fir Park. Motherwell against Ross County. Fraser Wishart, huge game this afternoon.
Yeah, you guys have done a grand job of talking up this game, and I think although we're only 20 games in, Motherwell's worries go further back than just this season. Even the tail end of last season, the whole of 2022, their form was pretty poor, and so that makes it a really big game for both these sides. Neither of them in good form since the World Cup, both looking for their first win since that break. 2 draws for Motherwell in 4 games, 1 in 5 for County, 1 point of 5 for County, and County only scored 1 goal, so it's easy to see why they're both in trouble at the bottom of the table. And Motherwell's problem has been their home form. I don't think they've won in their last 7. In fact, I think it's August since they won a game against Livingston, so that's to change them very, very quickly. And saying that most of Motherwell's defeats this season have been by the odd goal, so they've been in the games, they've not been outplayed, but they're losing too many goals at the back. 9 in the 4 since the World Cup. Of course, that means you've got to score 2 to even get a point. Stevie Hamill has been busy in the transfer market this week. He's been linked to a number of players. Already brought in Shane Blaney from Ireland, but this week brought in Ollie Crankshaw, winger from Stockport, and Mikael Mandron, striker from Gillingham. Crankshaw actually starts and Mandron is on the bench. I saw County last week and actually played quite well, and any time I've seen them, they've been quite impressive, but they're really lacking a finisher that's going to take the chances that they keep missing. This game might just suit them. They're away from home. They can play the counter-attacking game, allow Motherwell to have the ball and try and break them down, but then use the pace in wide areas to cause Motherwell problems. They brought in Noah Kenny on loan from Hibs, but he's only on the bench, and as Hugh was saying earlier, 3 points separate these sides. A win for County, I mean, Motherwell are only off the bottom of the table by a goal difference, but a win for them on the other hand gives them nice breathing space for 6 points going into their games coming up. A wee change of formation, I think, for Motherwell. Looks like a 3-4-3 formation. Max Johnson, Ollie Crankshaw and Stuart McKinstry come in. Cornelius and Shields drop to the bench as Slattery's out completely. They go with Liam Kelly in goals. A back 3, Paul McGinn, Sondre Solholm and Ricky Lamy. Across the middle, Max Johnson, Blair Spittle, Sean Goss and Matt Penny, with Ollie Crankshaw and Kevin Van Veen and Stuart McKinstry as the strikers. Aston Oxborough, Barry Maguire, Dean Cornelius, Shane Blaney, Mikael Mandron, Ross Tierney, Connor Shields, Logan Dunnicky and Lennon Miller are on the bench. 2 changes for Ross County. Alegbe and Watson drop to the bench. In come Danda and Baldwin. It's the usual 4-2-3-1 formation. Ross Laidlaw's in goals, Conor Randall, Jack Baldwin, Alex Iacovitti and George Hammond at the back. Midfield, David Kinkola and Jordan Tilson, with Awura Edwards, Ross Callahan and Jan Danda behind the lone striker. Jordan White, Ross Monroe, Josh Sims, Victor Laturi, Keith Watson, Kazim Alegbe, William Akio, Jordi Hiwula, Matt Smith and Noah Kenny are on the bench. And the referee today at Fir Park, David Dickinson, and the VAR referee is Matthew McDermott.
There's so much going into that fixture, Fraser. If we start with the actual footballing side of it, you know, Motherwell have made those signings that we've been speaking about. You mentioned the teams, so trying something different, shape perhaps different. It really seems like time for big decisions from Stevie Hamill, and I hope that they pay off.
Yeah, it's interesting because he's brought in forwards. You know, he's brought in forward players, and in the 4 games since the break, I think they scored 5 goals, but they've conceded 9. So clearly that's in his mind when he's putting Paul McGinn back into the centre 3 of the defence. Brings in young Max Johnson in the wide area, a very, very attacking player that needs to get forward. So that suits him as well. So I think looking just for a spark, just for something. I mean, the conditions are horrendous here at Fir Park. It's driving rain, the wind's blowing. So the players are going to have to be up for this game. And as I said earlier, we've got to be careful. County aren't the worst team. You know, they're actually a decent side playing football. They're well organised. They just haven't got that clinical finisher. And this could be a game where Motherwell's first 20 minutes is absolutely key. If they start well, get crowd on their back. But if they start poorly and the Ross County get an early goal and take that lead, then the fans can turn on them and the players' confidence can go quickly. So clearly a big day. It'll be interesting to see how they play and how they set up and how Crankshaw in particular comes in. But you're going against Stockport and Gillingham. Good, you know, they've had good players from the lower leagues in England, but you can't always get good players at this kind of level. So it'll be interesting to see how these two fit into the squad.
And of course, Fraser, all against the backdrop of Alan Burrows. Big news, shock news yesterday that he, 2 days ago, that he will be stepping down as CEO of the club.
Yeah, very, very surprising, and I haven't spoken to him since. I'm going to give him a phone next week. Somebody I've always gone very well. One of the good guys in Scottish football. I think always wants the best for his club, of course. Been a Motherwell supporter all his days, and I think he's built brilliant community links with the football club as well as this on the park. They've been pretty successful over the piece. You know, he's sold a number of players as well. And you think of James Scott and David Turnbull bringing in £4 or £5 million for players as well. So it was a real surprise to me. You know, I just one of these guys I thought would have been here for eternity because he loves the football club. So it doesn't seem to me that he's got somewhere else to go to right at the moment. But wherever he goes, I think Alan can leave this club with his head held high. He's done really well during really tricky and testing times financially for his club over the piece.
At Gordon Dalziel, it's fairly obvious. Stevie Hamill, Motherwell know that something needs to change. They've signed 2 players this week. One goes straight into the team in Ollie Crankshaw, as Fraser says. But on top of that, it looks either, you know, maybe a change to a back three, maybe Paul McGinn playing somewhere that you wouldn't normally find him. So that there's clearly moves been made to try and shore up things after a poor defensive display last week.
I'll be very, very surprised and disappointed if they've not addressed the defensive situation. I know Nisbet got a very good hat-trick, but he didn't really have to work for it. And you give a striker the space and the balls of that quality, then he's got to put it in the back of the net. And it'll be the same today, because Ross County will be desperate for a win as well. Fresh faces in, Gordon. One starts today. I think sometimes that can just give you a little spark. It can change one or two things. Motherwell are desperate for a result. Bad news. I totally echo what Fraser's saying about Alan Burrows. He's been absolutely brilliant for the club, but today it's all about 3 points.
Well, let's hear from Stevie Hamill ahead of this one.
It's a big game. It is. It's a chance for us to put distance between us and them. But again, they'll be looking at the opposite. But we're focused on what we're doing. We know where we stand. We know what a win would do for us. So, like every other game, it's a game we're going into to win.
Big one, Hugh.
Well, the fact of the matter is that wins have become a novelty for Motherwell. Fraser said no wins in the last 7. That is a run that has to be brought to an end. Now, today has to be the day it happens, because the psychological lift of going 6 points away from Ross County puts the pressure on Malky Mackay and not on Stevie Hamill. But as I said at the beginning, wins have become a novelty. That's a worry for them.
Yeah, that's a cracker to look forward to at Fir Park. The other game that could have knock-on effects down in and around that bottom part of the table is Hibs Dundee United, and David Friel is there.
Yeah, Gordon, sitting at Easter Road here, and I think Dundee United fans are actually wondering what's going on in the East End of Glasgow. The team sheet came out, as always, at this time of year. Sometimes when players aren't on the team sheet, you begin to wonder what's going on with the transfer window open. Tony Watt isn't on it at all, neither is Dylan Levitt, surprisingly. But Tony, according to his social media, is actually having lunch in the East End of Glasgow, so he's not even with the team. So I think the jungle drums are beating. I think the rumour mill at Dundee United has him going to England potentially. I'm sure we'll find out later on from Liam Fox. But he's obviously a miss. I mean, he's not been starting games recently, but United do want to have him on the bench, but we will find out more later on. As you said, relegation battle at the bottom. United were on a good run before that defeat to Rangers last weekend. I think Liam Fox is confident that 2-0 defeat, they competed pretty well at times, won't stop their progress. They're second bottom, 3 points above Ross County, so they do need a result at Easter Road, but they tend to do okay here. Haven't lost in their last 3 visits, and they also beat Hibs 1-0 at Tannadice in October. So Liam Fox, he's named a pretty attacking team, and it'll be a big day for Stephen Fletcher, who returns to face his first club almost 14 years after leaving to join Burnley in 2009. Can't believe it's 14 years. Just the one change for United. Arnaud Djoum is in for Dylan Levitt, as I said, who doesn't even feature in the squad here. Mark Birighitti in goals, Liam Smith, Ryan Edwards and Scott McMahon at the back. Midfield of Kieran Freeman, Craig Sibbald, Arnaud Djoum and Aziz Behic, and Ian Hartz and Glenn Middleton will support Stephen Fletcher. Subs are Ericsson, Mulgrew, Graham, Niskanen, Pollitt, Mikason, McGrath, Kudjoe and McLeod. As for Hibs, what a difference a win makes in the wacky world of Hibs. Last week it was all doom and gloom. Lee Johnson was under major pressure, fighting for his job, talking about Deadwood in the dressing room. Then they go and beat Motherwell 3-2. Kevin Nisbet gets a hat-trick. Eden McGeady sparkling form, and things are starting to look a bit more positive. I think Lee Johnson, to be fair, will know that one win doesn't change too much. It takes a lot more to get the season back on track, and this fixture actually starts a run of 3 crucial home games for them in a row. It's obviously United today, then it's Hearts here in the Scottish Cup next weekend, and then Aberdeen at the end of the month. So I think those 3 games could probably shape the rest of the season and maybe even Lee Johnson's future. Hibs' form has been awful really. I think it's only 3 wins in 12 or something, but they do have a chance to go level in points with Aberdeen today, and I think both of them are really kind of now battling for 4th. Looks as if Hearts will race away with 3rd. So really big game for Hibs, and Lee Johnson makes just one change. Will Fish is in for the injured Chris Cadden at right back. So it's David Marshall in goals, Will Fish, Rocky Bashiri, Ryan Porteous who's still here, Lewis Stevenson at the back, Kyle McGuinness, Joe Newell and Josh Campbell in midfield, with Eli Yuan, Kevin Nisbet and Adam Geedy in attack. Subs for Hibs are Schofield, Miller, Cabraha, Doyle Hayes, Tavares, Henderson, Melkerson, Megwa and McCurdy. The referee at Easter Road is Colin Stephen, and the VAR is Andrew Dallas.
You can't beat modern football, seriously. There might be a perfectly reasonable excuse as to why Tony Watt's not with the Dundee United squad and is out for lunch, but other people will be on the Instagram, what do you mean you're having a bruschetta starter and carbonara main when you should be at Easter Road during the transfer window? Hugh Keevins, none of this in your day.
No smoke without fire. He's at a restaurant.
What smoke?
in the East End of Glasgow.
If social media was about when Gordon Dalziel wasn't in the squad.
Don't answer that. Whatever this question is, don't answer
the
it. You'll only get
pictures
yourself in
anyway,
trouble.
you would be
Listen,
in match day.
He's not there, therefore his time at Dundee United is over. And ordinarily, if you saw Will Fish, who was desperate against Hearts in the Edinburgh Derby, and Rocky Bashiri in the same back 4, you would be thinking lovely, but not if you're minus Dylan Levitt and Tony Watt. So I think Dundee United up against it. If Lee Johnson doesn't get a home win today off the back of a 3-2 win at Motherwell last Sunday, then questions are asked.
I mean, what's the script, Mark Wilson? If Tony Watt is injured, would there be an expectation for him to be at an away game? I didn't think so.
No,
what's
not
your
really.
experience?
No, if you're injured and you're out the squad, then it would usually be left down to the player if he wanted to go. Now you get a mixed response from players sometimes. Some players will go, no thanks, I'll do a bit of rehab at the training ground, and then I'll get my feet up and watch things on the TV. And then you get some players that are extra keen. I'll be on the bus, I'll go to pre-match, and I'll be in the dressing room egging the boys on.
You'd be there, wouldn't you, supporting your teammates?
I wonder where this guy would be.
Yeah, I'd be sitting right next to Tony.
Well, we'll find out. I'm sure someone will speak to Liam Fox before this game and find out what the story is there. Producer Callum looks perfectly glum about the full thing, but there we are. I think he's ready to get a taxi out to the East End to go to said restaurant and find out what Tony Watt's story is. Let's go to St Johnstone Livingston. Dave Galloway is keeping an eye on that one.
Yes, St Johnstone sit in 8th place, Gordon, after 4 successive defeats, and they're looking to stop the rot and prevent themselves being dragged any closer to the relegation playoff place, which they're 5 points clear of at this present moment. Livingston have gone 3 games unbeaten, and if they can maintain their consistency and get a victory, that'll take them above Aberdeen and up into 4th place. Plenty incentive then for both sides to get the 3 points. Team news for St Johnstone: Montgomery returns on loan from Celtic for the rest of the season. Very good young left back. He is in to the side, as are Wotherspoon and Clark. Out drop Gallagher, McPherson and Murphy. So it's Matthews in goals, Mitchell, Gordon and Considine as the back 3, then Wright, Carey, McGowan, Wotherspoon and Montgomery in the middle, with May and Clark up front. The subs: Parish, Brown, Crawford, McPherson, Murphy, Bair, O'Halloran, McLennan and Phillips. Livingston, they are unchanged. No great surprise there from Davy Martindale. George in goals, then across the back Devlin, Fitzwater, Boys and Penrice. Midfield: Shinnie, Kelly and Omiyonga. Up top Anderson, supported by Bradley and Kelly. The subs: Hamilton, Goncalves, Longridge, Obalai, Bahambula, Pittman, Holt, Montano and Guthrie. On VAR duties this afternoon, it's Kevin Clancy, and the match referee is John Beaton.
Life after Marvin Bartley, of course, for Livingston. Hugh Keevins, they've acted quickly, they've reshuffled and brought in Christophe Berra as well. I
think that's a terrific appointment for them. I know he's only there until the end of the season to see how it all works out, but Davy Martindale is a phenomenon. How he keeps that club where they are is down to one man's ability and determination, and they will be fearful opponents for St Johnstone today, who are so bad they lost last week to Aberdeen. So you have to go for, I think, Livy getting something out of that game in Perth.
Okay, that's your three big Premiership games at 3 o'clock. We'll take our first look at the League Cup action after these. And now just a quick note from our podcast sponsor Lookers, the new name for Taggarts across Glasgow and the West. We are proud to announce that Lookers is now the new name for Taggarts. Taggarts has been part of the Lookers Motor Group for nearly 20 years, and over time, being part of one of the largest multi-franchise dealer groups in the UK and Ireland, has helped Taggarts to provide a great customer experience, value and choice to their customers across Scotland, and that's something that will never change. And now, they've decided though to change the name above the door to move forward as one. You'll find the same great service and friendly faces you've come to know at their Jaguar, Land Rover and Volvo showrooms, working hard to give the best experience every time. You can now browse and shop online for your next car at lookers.co.uk and choose from thousands of used cars in stock with home delivery available. You can also discover the latest new car offers, book a test drive and book your next service online. Although the name has changed above the door, everything else is staying exactly the same, and you can still expect the same great service and friendly faces when you visit in store. Lookers, the new name for Taggarts across Glasgow and the West.
Action as it happens, and your reaction from 5 on the open line. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Big day of football ahead, not only in the Premiership, down in the Championship, League 1 and 2. The weather has caused one or two issues, but by and large we're good to go. And then on to Celtic Kilmarnock in the League Cup semi-final at 5:30 this evening. Let's bring all the guys in. We sometimes take a look back at the week's biggest stories. I think the week's biggest story is happening this weekend. It would be the League Cup semi-finals, and David, feel it's a tournament that Celtic have grown particularly fond of in recent seasons and will be keen to keep that going this time.
Yeah, Gordon, I think it's an important tournament. It was Ange Postecoglou's first trophy. I think it was Ronnie Dyler's maybe first trophy, Brendan Rodgers certainly as well. So yeah, it's important. Gordon, I always like the League Cup in Scotland because we don't treat it as an inconvenience. I think down south, to me, a lot of clubs are looking at it as just an afterthought, and it just gets in the way of the Premier League fixtures. But up here it's not like that. You don't need to play, for the Premiership teams, you don't really need to play too many games to win the tournament. It also gives some provincial clubs, some of the smaller clubs, a chance to go and win silverware as well. But for the big two, certainly it's important, and especially now Michael Beale's in, he'll be looking to make his mark. I think it takes on even greater importance for Celtic.
Yeah, I mean, Hugh Keevins, we did say this throughout the week, and we should be proud of it, the fact that it carries such an importance, this competition here.
David makes an interesting point about the Celtic managers who won that as their first trophy. We know that last season, in spite of my prediction that Ange Postecoglou made it his first trophy for Celtic manager, you go back all the way to Wim Jansen 25 years ago won the League Cup as his first trophy before he won the Championship in his one and only season at the club. Today's team talk from Ange Postecoglou is, this is our trophy, we won it by our own efforts last season, don't give up the prospect of defending it in the final at Hampden by losing to a team who are 38 points adrift of us in the league table. 38 points. Now they're in the bottom six for a reason, and Celtic are top for a reason. If both of them bring their average form to the table, Celtic win.
Mark Wilson, you know fine well, we discussed it during the week, that Kilmarnock won this competition 2012, beating Celtic in the final. These things can happen, and ultimately that's what Kilmarnock are hoping for today, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've been there before with Dundee United when I go in against one of the big two at Hampden, and you just hope again that you've got your game plan right, that you're working it well, and the players that are selected on the day carry it out, and each one of your teammates has an unbelievable day. You've also got to hope for the talented bunch that Celtic have got. The majority of them are off colour today. Now that's a lot to ask for, but look, it's not impossible. If you're a Kilmarnock fan, you'll be coming up to 77 sure. Like Dad says, thinking it isn't impossible for the ones old enough, and well, it's not that long ago I can remember them winning the cup. They'll hang on to that little bit of hope. But for Celtic, look, this cup does hold huge significance for them. But the last 8 years they've won it 6 times. David rightly mentioned, new managers in the door have put huge significance on winning it to get them off to a flyer, and Ange Postecoglou will do the same this year. Defending the trophy, and I mentioned it the other night, it forms the first part of what could be a treble when you look back in May.
I don't think Postecoglou mentioned treble.
No,
I really don't.
He may not, but he'll know.
He would regard that as being the ultimate in presumption. What he will say is, get yourselves into the final, and then we can talk about winning that trophy. And in the meantime, they have to defend their lead at the top of the league table, and the Scottish Cup is for next weekend.
But
when Celtic
he
play
will know,
Malta.
Hugh, that to be considered as one of the, alongside the great servants for Celtic, that he has to win trebles to match Martin O'Neill and to match Brendan Rodgers' side that he's getting compared to every week. Now this is the first step. You're right, you have to get into the final, but it's on the horizon. Once you get over January and you have got quite a comfortable lead in the league, then you've got to be looking at silverware, and this is the first step.
And although Celtic went on to win the league last season, Fraser Wishart, so I would acknowledge the obvious difference, the getting you up and running style of trophy win that Ange Postecoglou got last season, that's then becomes the task for Michael Beale this time around.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Rangers, I think they've got a tougher task. It's really hard to make a case for Kilmarnock. You know, they've come up, and that's their priority, is to stay up. Of course, they'll think they've got a chance. Every player, as soon as you go in the field of play, thinks you've got a chance. But Celtic, there's so many attacking options. Whereas Rangers, I think have got a tough game. You know, I've seen Aberdeen a couple of times fairly recently, and I've always been up and down season, and they've lost a lot of games. There's something in there. I think there's almost a team in there. You know, they've some against St Mirren, they played really well for 35 minutes till Anthony Stewart has been in the newspapers this week, made a horrendous error. So I think it's a really tough game for Rangers. I do expect them to win it, but it's going to be a much tougher game. Celtic, I think, will win fairly comfortably, and Ange Postecoglou will be able to do as he always does when they go 2 or 3 ahead, is just rotate and bring these substitutes off the bench and really have a go at it. So a really interesting game. But you're right, for Michael Beale in the door, they're doing well so far, haven't lost under him. It'd be a really bad result if they lost tomorrow, but he'll be aiming to get the trophy, because I think we all agree the league's beyond them. So it's important that firstly for your own team win a trophy, and secondly it stops the opposition, stops the other side of the old firm winning the treble. So a big game tomorrow for Rangers. I think it'll be a really good game. I quite fancy it. I'm going along, I fancy a few goals.
To tie a couple of these things together, David Friel, the transfer window is very much open. In fact, we're at the halfway point. Did you expect Celtic to still have Juranovic and Giakoumakis available for this game when the scheduling was planned out a couple of weeks back?
I wasn't too sure, Gordon. I did have a chat with my cousin's barber's neighbour this morning, and he says that things are still ongoing. No, I'm joking. Yeah, look, there's still a lot of noise about both of them. Actually, more about Giakoumakis just now than Juranovic. It seems to have gone pretty quiet. You know, Monza were obviously in for him, and a few English clubs too. But in terms of Giakoumakis, it looks as if he is heading for the exit door, but I just don't know when it'll be, and it may be contingent on Celtic getting the replacement in. And as things stand, it doesn't look as if the South Korean striker Cho will be coming in any time soon. So, no, I think Ange Postecoglou was pretty relaxed about the whole thing. You know, they're still Celtic players. Cal McGregor, it was actually quite interesting what he was saying earlier on in the week, and he was just basically saying, you know, they're good professionals, they're all good boys, so nobody will be rocking the boat. And if called upon today, I don't imagine both will start, but if called upon today, I don't imagine they'll let Celtic down at all.
Yeah, Mark, what have you read into Celtic's transfer business? There's been this assumption, and I think you probably could call it that Giakoumakis will probably go and Cho would sort of come in as a replacement. Reports in South Korea suggesting that he won't be on his way to Celtic this morning.
Yeah, I think that will disappoint a lot of the Celtic fans. In both transactions, I think they were quite welcoming of Cho coming this way, but I don't think they were or will be happy with reports about Giakoumakis going out the door. I said right at the start of this that I think it's been handled poorly from Giakoumakis' side. Now, maybe people may blame Celtic and say, well, you could improve the contract, but when you've got a player under contract for 4 years, you expect the majority of that to be honoured. And I just thought it could have been dealt with behind closed doors, and Giakoumakis could have still been a happy Celtic player who would be able to contribute in the run in the season. Now, when you look at why he's going, is it to further his footballing career? He'll get more game time, but in a league, if it is in Japan, across the other side of the world, where he's missing out in elite football in the Champions League, surely every player wants to put themselves in the position that he has managed to do with Celtic. So that's the disappointing thing from my point of view. I wonder if he will regret it. His bank balance may not show that, but I wonder in the football terms if he will, if he moves on.
That's the strange thing about this time of year, Gordon. A parting gift might be coming off the bench to fire Celtic into the League Cup final if he doesn't start, as most people would predict.
I don't think he will, but he's certainly got the ability to come on the pitch and change a game if Celtic need that tonight, Gordon. I totally understand why he would leave Celtic. He's a proven goal scorer. He came to Celtic with a good goal scoring record. He's banged them in every time that he's been required at Celtic. He's unfortunate he's second to Kyogo. That happens in football. You then sit back and decide, right, at this stage of my career, do I bite the bullet and hope that, you know, I get my run, I get to go number one. Kyogo might be an injury, might something happen, may play two, because we've seen Postecoglou occasionally in substitutions change it to the two, especially at Ibrox. But I just think as a player, and Mark's talking about bank balance, nowadays you're well looked after. I think it's all about playing and scoring goals, especially if you're a striker. The lad loves doing that. He's very talented at it. Would he be a big miss? 100%, because I think he's a top striker.
He has made it clear that he doesn't think he gets paid well enough by Celtic. Therefore it is about money, and I think it's a mistake to let Giacomakis go while you do not have a replacement in-house, because Kyogo last season went out for weeks because of injury. Giacomakis was the one who came in, filled the breach, scored the goals, and made sure that the league title was won. So I think that he is in the business of getting himself a hefty wage rise, and that's his entitlement.
He also doesn't play as first choice striker, though. It's bound to come into the conversation.
Well, nevertheless, if you want more money and you are given more money, then you get about your business and you fight for that place. Or you understand that the way Ange Postecoglou approaches the game, you will be on when it's important to the team. And if you want your big wage increase, you have to understand that you're getting it because you are important to the team.
And I suppose, Fraser Wishart, the question shifts slightly for Rangers fans. Would you have expected to have new signings in by the time your semi-final comes around against Aberdeen tomorrow? Doesn't look like that will be the case. Maybe a bit more patience required.
Yeah, I think so. And I think a huge turnaround in the Rangers squad, not only in this window but in the summertime as well. There's also, I think, the focus on, can they get Ryan Kent tied up and Morelos tied up, or are they going to leave? So there's, I think, 9 players out of contract in the summertime. I mean, they've been linked with Cantwell, and that seems to be one that they would like to get in. And he's an excellent player. You know, he's got all the ability in the world. Maybe a wee bit inconsistent as players of his type sometimes are. But if you're getting him for a decent fee at this time of the year, then I think he'd be a good addition to the squad, because Rangers don't have the attacking options that Celtic have. You know, Celtic have got 7 or 8 players who you could just rotate and they would still be equally strong, whereas Rangers, because of injuries as much as anything, but also lack of numbers as well. So I think he'd be a good signing, but just a different situation. You don't know what Rangers' position is financially, what their budget is. Do they have the money to go and splash just now? Are they looking for short-term players? Probably not, because the league's gone. They're looking to maybe bring in players that's going to be here for 3 or 4 years, like Michael Beale said that maybe before last. So yeah, I think Rangers need to bring in a couple of players, more in an attacking sense, and then hopefully promote young Lowry, who's a player I like. You know, always want Scottish players to get their chance as well. Get him more game time, and they've got more options as an attacking force.
Yeah, the Todd Cantwell business, Hugh, it's just so open. Michael Beale, even when he's trying to be coy and mysterious about it, isn't. He talks the player up. Are you expecting that to happen this week?
It has got to happen, otherwise Michael Beale will look foolish, because he has made no secret of the fact from the very outset that Cantwell is a player that he wants. He speaks about him at length, at regular intervals. And the talk of keeping his cards close to his chest has become a bit of a joke. So he's got to get him in. And I think there's just every indication that Norwich don't want him. Therefore, the player is apparently in favour of moving to Scotland. I would expect that if he's not here by next Saturday, I'd be amazed.
Yeah, David Friel, is that one we'll be discussing as having been confirmed this time next week?
Yeah, it's just saying, you know, Michael Beale's put it to the Rangers board to just get it over the line, but the way he's talking, I'd be amazed if a manager speaks in that way about a player and talks him up and talks about how confident he is if that's not almost over the line. And listen, they can recapture the form we showed when we first broke into Norwich team. I think Rangers have got a very good player in their hand. I don't know the reasons why it's not really worked out for him the last little while, but yeah, definitely a good player, and he would, as Fraser said, he would really add to Rangers' attacking options for the second half of the season.
Well, plenty more discussion to come on that, I am sure, and we will build up more to the big semi-final at 5:30 and tomorrow's game between Rangers and Aberdeen. But for the meantime, let's shift focus back to 3 huge games in the Scottish Premiership, and we will go back around the grounds next.
The team with the biggest support in Glasgow and the West. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Hugh Keevins, Mark Wilson and Gordon Daziel are in the studio. Still a bit to go before we focus on Hampden for Celtic against Kilmarnock in the League Cup semi-final. Let's go back around the Premiership games, and it took an unexpected twist at Easter Road at David Friel when you were saying tongues had been set wagging because Tony Watt isn't in the squad, and Instagram tells you he's been out for his lunch. I'm reliably informed he's just been injured this week, so the story goes.
Well, there you go, and so is Dylan Levitt apparently, according to Liam Fox. So the panic's over for producer Callum and all the rest of the Dundee United fans, if that's the case, Gordon.
Indeed, producer Callum does have a bit more of a spring in his step, so not necessarily meant to be an imminent departure, Hugh.
Could he not bring himself to go and support the people who pay his wages?
Mark says, when it's an away game, you're just simply not obliged to do
Yeah,
that.
they're busy at this time of the
They're
year.
playing in Edinburgh.
Yeah,
Right.
Traffic
Down the road.
Yeah, he might have to travel himself.
Yeah.
Daz is right.
Peril
Traffic. He might have been
nowadays.
in for treatment this morning or elsewhere in Glasgow. You never know.
Exactly. No, it was waffles and eggs he had
I don't
for
care.
his breakfast.
Baloney
So I'm
is
told.
what's been spoken in here.
And that's true. By the way, we've done
Some
deep
research.
research on this. Yeah.
But they have
huge.
waffle and eggs.
That's breakfast. It's brunch time.
Ah, right, okay.
No, this is ridiculous. On the field for the players that actually are there and are not worried about their brunch choices, David Friel, I suppose it's time to see how much of a kickstart that win at Fir Park was for Hibs, or if that was just charitable Motherwell presenting Hibs with goals that they couldn't possibly refuse.
Yeah, I suppose there's 2 ways of looking at it, Gordon. I think the Hibs are definitely better. I think at times attacking wise they have been okay, and then you look at the fact they've still got Ryan Porteous and David Marshall in goals, and you wonder why they've been so not even inconsistent, just so poor. But I don't know, I think there's been a few false dawns, and I don't know, I still don't think a manager can come out and speak about a squad of players and a board of directors like Lee Johnson did and last too much longer. I think this is obviously the crucial 3 games coming up, as I said earlier. The United today, Hearts in the Cup, and then Aberdeen at home. But I think they probably need to win at least 2 for him to survive. I just think it's getting to that stage. I just think he's under a lot of pressure here,
despite being able to go top 6 today.
Yeah, I do. I just don't think the results have been good enough, and people can talk about, and he's the one that's talking about how bad decisions made at board level and the signings haven't been good enough. But half the signings that don't get a game for Hibs are his signings. Maybe that speaks of a bigger issue behind the scenes. But no, I think he's been backed enough in the summer to get Hibs playing far better than he has. I don't think the performances and results have been acceptable at all, and he has to go and back it up today with another win against the United team, who are fighting for their lives but have some good players on the pitch.
Talking about potential false dawns, Fraser Wisher, it's interesting that it's Motherwell playing Ross County today. You'll remember when Stevie Hamill took over, there was a lot of talk about performances having improved and maybe the results would follow. They got up to Dingwall in October and beat Ross County 5-0, and you think that they're really onto something. Problem being, they've won only 1 game since then. Since that victory in the 4th of October, they've won only once, and it's a terrible run in general, and a particularly poor run at home.
Particularly poor at home, you're absolutely right. I think it's 1 win in 9 games at home and only scored 9 goals at that time. So most of their successes are they've got a better record away from home, getting more points. And sometimes that can be when a team's not playing with confidence. They prefer to play away from home because they don't have to go and force the game. The game's not theirs to the fans shouting on them as well, both for and against them. So sometimes it's easier away from home. But I think you're right that the Motherwell problem's not just recent. I think I saw a table that was put together for games in the calendar year of 2022, and Motherwell had the second lowest points total. Only Dundee, who were relegated, and Kilmarnock, they added their points together, they were 1 point behind Motherwell for 2022. So it's a long term problem, and certainly at home it's been a real issue for them, is just getting that win or even a couple of draws when they've been an odd goal in it. So the pressure's on Motherwell today. Is a change of formation as we spoke about. Ollie Crankshaw's in and he'll play wide. along with McKinstry, so there's a bit of pace in the team as well. So the start to this game is absolutely vital, because Ross County, their problem is scoring goals, and I think they'll sit back and allow Motherwell the ball, and then it's up to Motherwell, who are not playing particularly well and low in confidence. Can they go and be confident on the ball? Can they be brave? Can they go and create something? Can they break down Ross County? Ross County have got 5 goals away from home this season, so they're not going to be a huge danger other than on the counter-attack. So the game's going to be all about Motherwell. Can they get that lead? And I think if they get ahead, they'll go on and win the game. But if they lose the first goal, I think they could be in big trouble today, because Ross County are a decent side, they're well organised. If they get a goal up, it's going to be really difficult for Motherwell to get back into it.
It has to be about those so-called winnable games, doesn't it, Fraser? You get the feeling the one that might haunt Motherwell is being 2-0 up against 10-man Kilmarnock just before Christmas and having to settle for a 2-2 draw. Even last week, Hibs were not that far ahead of them in the table. Hibs were supposed to be in crisis. Motherwell score twice, still can't win the game. There's not a lot to show for the games against the teams round about them.
Yeah, if you're going to stay in the Premier League, you have to beat Ross County or the teams around you at home. And it's the first time for a long time we've really been talking about Motherwell in a sense of, can they stay up, you know. But a win today, it's a 6-point gap, and all of a sudden they're up just behind the likes of St Johnstone and all the teams above them. It's so tight in this division, so a win can just change the whole dynamic around the club as well. Players are happier coming in, there's a spring in their step going into training, the confidence just goes through the whole club, the supporters go home happy as well, and they can begin to look up the way. But I just think this is it's a big game for them. You know, they've got Arbroath next week away in the cup. Can you imagine going into a defeat today and at the bottom of the table? That's a difficult one as well. So all of a sudden, big games coming up. But I do think Motherwell will win it. I actually think they'll get that win. As I said earlier, they've been in most of the games this year. They've only lost most of the games by the odd goal, like Hibs last week. So if they could just stop conceding at the back, they've got forwards that can cause teams problems, and I think they'll do that today. I think they'll win by the odd goal.
Yeah, doing that amateur psychology thing, Gordon Dalziel. Motherwell's form is better away from home, and you just wonder on a day like this, how much can you use so-called home advantage, and how much does it become a little bit of a burden if things aren't going to plan? Yeah, but if you go through the rest of the season and your home form is very poor, you're going to get relegated. It's as simple as that. Fraser touches on, you know, that one result at home, and that's a big game for us today. There's no doubt, because Ross County will be difficult. They've got to start winning games. We've seen what happened to them last year. All of a sudden they came from nowhere, went on a great run, built up a bit of confidence. Charles Cook obviously scoring the goals. Motherwell have brought in a couple of new signings today. They're at home, they're under a bit of pressure. They'll need to handle that. Fraser's quite right to point out, not in the fact that what it does going forward, because Arbroath's always got to be difficult, where you're going up there winning games or not, always got to be difficult. Their next league game is against St Mirren and Paisley. I watched St Mirren last night, and I could tell you I was very impressed with them. So if we're going to survive in this league and get self out of trouble, home fixtures, and it has to start today, or I am sorry, I'm going to say this, I think the Motherwell manager comes under severe pressure.
Well, you know, last week their problem was their defending against Hibs, which was shambolic. This Ross County team have scored 14 goals all season long. 21 games, 14 goals. They don't even get a goal a game or anything like it. They must be a real treat to watch. But Motherwell, as the Dazzler said, they have got to make home advantage count. They've got to get the 3 points, got to get the psychological lift of going 6 ahead of Ross County. Otherwise, you travel to Arbroath and there's a wee man up there getting ready to say, Jeezy peeps, man.
It's the next 2.5 weeks for me, Gordon. It's critical for Stevie Hamill until the window closes. Now I know he's got some crucial fixtures in there, but the one thing you would say about this squad, it just isn't good enough. Wasn't good enough at the start of the season. Stevie Hamill's been left with it. He's now making additions. It's up to the additions to make impact, and then he has to add to it.
Oh, Jeezy peeps, man.
Anyway, plenty more to come from him as the afternoon progresses. Let me tell you, I can guarantee that for sure. St Johnstone against Livy, Dave Galloway. Not too much between these sides in terms of the league table, so I'm sure maybe St Johnstone fans would be looking for that home advantage, and Livy just continuing to try and surprise people.
Yeah, absolutely, Gordon. St Johnstone's home form, though, it must be more than a bit of a concern. They've won just 3 of their 10 league matches here at McDiarmid Park so far this season. Livingston continuing to impress. The chance to move up to 4th place. Can they maintain momentum and even challenge for a European place? Would you bet against it under Davy Martindale? Certainly not. The pitch here, incidentally, it's got a lot of sand on it. We've had some pretty heavy rain. The pitch is out being spiked at the moment, but we can only hope that the weather doesn't adversely affect the entertainment that these two teams will hopefully serve up today.
I don't like that time in the season, Mark, when the pitches visibly have been taking a bit of a battering, and it probably is going to be this weekend. This will be the tumbling point.
Well, especially up in that area of Scotland. Dundee already off. It's just 20 minutes down the road for that. St Johnstone, pitch never really that good. Hopefully the groundsman doesn't listen, call in here, but it's never been renowned for being a perfect surface. So difficult for the players, crucial one for both teams, right enough.
And no Marvin Bartley on the touchline. It'll be a quieter place, Hugh Keevins.
He'll know what life's all about today. Lynx Park, Montrose, that part of the country getting battered by rain, as Mark said. But he watched the game midweek against Kelty Hearts from the stand, just assessing what he has at Queen of the South. But he's on the touchline today, so some poor old referee will be getting an ear bashing at Lynx Park.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that for sure. As the guys have said, Mark Wilson told you Dundee Partick Thistle is off, which is a real shame, especially for many Thistle fans in this neck of the woods. Hamilton Morton, my goodness, Dougie Imrie going back to Hamilton. Not a face or a name that John Rankin could probably be doing with scene, given how difficult it's been for Hamilton Accies. League leaders Queen's Park up in Inverness, that should be a cracker. Cove Wraith and Ayr United against Arbroath as well, and plenty to come down the divisions. And of course we've got those League Cup semi-finals to look forward to as well. So with that in mind, let's take a breather, because the 3 o'clock kickoffs are coming up next.
The winning team all season long. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Gordon Daziel, Mark Wilson and Hugh Keevins are here, and the 3 o'clock kickoffs are fast approaching. You have Hibs Dundee United, Motherwell Ross County and St Johnstone Livy in the top flight, before we turn attentions to the League Cup semi-finals a bit later on. There are only 3 games. I'm only asking you to predict 3 games. Even you duds can't mess this up. What does the ACCA look like this afternoon?
Motherwell can't score. Ross County, I beg your pardon, I got that wrong. Ross County can't score. Motherwell can't defend. So this has the look of 2 bad lots about it. A draw. Hibs, I think, will beat Dundee United while Tony Watt finishes off his breakfast. And St Johnstone and Livingston, another draw.
Mine's is identical to you.
You're doomed then, aren't you?
I know. I was going to change it, but it's written on my page, so I can't change it. Exact same.
Pools Coombs for me, 3 X's.
You can explain that to the younger audience.
3 draws.
Well, yeah, 3 draws, 3 X's. 1 home, 2 away, 3 an X.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements. Trade accounts available now. Call them today.
I have to say, the weather at Fir Park is absolutely horrendous. The outgoing CEO Alan Burrows has got the big jacket on, he's got the hood up, he's standing in the touchline looking absolutely miserable. Fair play to any fan who's turned out, Gordon, because that is horrific. I hope you've not left your windows open.
I certainly have, yeah.
I knew you would have.
I was hoping Uncle Fester sitting in the stand, Fraser Wisher, would run down and maybe climb up and close.
What have you opened your windows for? On a day like today?
Because I do it all the time, Mark. It's all about fresh air.
So
circulation
you
in the house.
You insult a man who's in charge of PFA Scotland.
I don't know if he could
run
go
up
up
to
my
your door.
I don't know if he could go up the stair. That's the problem. I'd be a bit concerned about
Seriously, are the windows open? Because you are in deep trouble. That is sideways rain, as they say.
My curtains will be in the kitchen.
A sideways rain.
Yeah.
It's coming straight into your kitchen.
And I've got one of those big bay windows as well. It's just got to be carnage.
Honestly, sounds a nice penthouse flat you've got there.
I was going to say, I'm not sure that's a bay window what you're describing, but
Yes,
anyway,
it
let's not get involved in.
What do you think's a bay window?
A big one. Like mine.
I don't think there's a bay. I've seen your flat. I don't think it's a bay window.
He thought it sounded good, so he just went with bay.
People will be impressed.
There are not many flats in
I
Motherwell
didn't
with a bay
think
window.
I had a bay window either when I seen it.
Anyway, we just hope it doesn't affect the standard of the football, because it looks horrific.
Well, I think the weather matches the circumstances really, because it's a grim old afternoon for both of them. They both need to win this game. Ross County, having lost Charles Cook, have never been the same. 14 goals out of 21 games. They're struggling. Motherwell are struggling. 1 win since October is horrific. So the weather for me simply matches the grim nature of the occasion.
And Gordon, we said that Stevie Hamill had to do something. What is interesting when you see the team lined up, you know, and if you're talking about on paper or whatever, and you look at who's playing where, and sometimes even the way the club have tweeted the team news, you would have maybe thought back three, Paul McGinn gone to the right side of a back three, which he's played regularly, Max Johnson at right wing back, but it does look like Paul McGinn's in midfield.
I'm surprised, Gordon. I really am. Paul McGinn played at the back against Rangers at Ibrox. I thought he played very well indeed. 2 centre halves. It's a big day for them. They need to defend. They were poor last week.
Fraser Wishart's been in touch to say not a chance he would go into your flat. It's the Twilight Zone, not entering that world, he says.
He can look at the medals and oh no, they'll throw them in. Can they look at them?
Speaking of which, how's the knee? Big knee op this week.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm speaking to my physio on my right hand side. He's advised me that
if one man knows about knee surgery, it's this guy.
To go and do a little bit in the bite tomorrow. So for all the gym people, I'll visit them tomorrow.
I was obviously concentrating on the show. Did I hear you during the break asking Mark Wilson to pick your scabs off for you?
No, he's changing my bandages.
You'd be right.
He's a main man. He's a knee man.
There's no way I am going near your scabby knee.
Oh, Jesus, Babes, man.
The thought of it, Hugh Keevins.
I know
the thought of it.
You've conjured up an image that the listening audience do not wish to consider.
He's still got his plasters on, Hugh. When was that you got done? Tuesday?
Tuesday, yeah. But obviously I'm bathing and stuff like that. But I can't get the knee.
There's a thought.
That's what it's called, isn't it? When you wash bathing.
I'm going to try and limit myself on the Jeezy peeps because I'm getting really excited about it. Maybe we'll save it for when our both concede. Does that seem appropriate?
That seems fair, yeah.
And maybe
a VAR decision going against
maybe
Motherwell.
If Motherwell concede as well, I'll see how I feel. Good start Dundee United. Porteous is in midfield for Hibs. Josh Campbell's at right back. Chris Cadden, remember, dropped out there. Jim's had a shot saved. Graham Carey's hit the top of the net. Good start for St Johnstone. And just before we get interrupted by any goal-mouth drama, Hugh Keevins, let's do this.
The first half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
Topical question this weekend. Name the last 6 Scottish players to score in a Scottish League Cup final. Half a dozen Scottish players. They scored in the Scottish League Cup final. The last half dozen. Who are they?
I like that. Very straightforward question, but are the answers straightforward? The last 6 Scots to score in a Scottish League Cup final. Go, be fast at Clyde SSB. We're looking for one tweet with all the correct answers, and you are trying to beat everyone else to it. It's somewhat of a race, so let's see what you've got there at Clyde SSB and see who's got the top knowledge in the first half. It's a miserable day. You can't be out and about, surely, so maybe just sit back and take part in the teaser. I can see Sean on Twitter. He says, I'm listening from my sick bed. Could we see a Saturday afternoon where the Ackies win?
Against Morton. Well, Morton, you know, their good run came to an end against Partick Thistle last weekend. They're looking to get back on track, as they say. They've got Celtic in the Cup next weekend. I would fancy Dougie Imrie. Sorry, bedridden Hamilton Ackies fan, but I fancy Morton very strongly. Or maybe that's just made your day.
Yeah, really. I was going to say, it's not like you to predict the outcome accurately.
I have to agree with you though. I think for John Rankin, the window is important. I get Hamilton's structure and giving young kids a chance, but when the club has fallen from their position, in the Premiership, and then they're falling further down. Sometimes you need experience to get you out that hole and elevate you back up, and I think John needs all the help he can get at the minute, not just young kids.
I think Hamilton can get a result today. I really do. I know it'll be difficult. Morton are sitting in fifth, Hamilton fighting for their life. They're at home, windy conditions, rain on that arse of turf. I think Hamilton have got a lot of good up-and-coming young lads. Just a bit early for them, but if they reach the heights today, a wee bit of luck, they can get 3 points.
Yeah, it's a big Saturday, of course, but we were underway in the Premiership last night. Hearts beating St Mirren at Tynecastle to strengthen their hold on third place. I think you suggested earlier, Gordon, you were encouraged by the visiting performance. What did you make of the game?
Yeah, I enjoyed it, Gordon. I thought that St Mirren made a good account of themselves. Really impressed with St Mirren away from home, but it took a lad who I've got a lot of faith in here, Barry Mackay. I've spoke very highly of him. He's come in for a bit of criticism lately from the Hearts supporters. He's not performed to the levels that he started at the beginning of the season. But if you've not seen it, what a goal.
It was a great goal, wasn't it?
Oh, fantastic. Just it's Barry Mackay-esque written all over him. The way he plays it, he just follows it up, and the cool, composed finish gives the goalkeeper no chance. Then we'll have the question, VAR again.
Yeah.
Was that a penalty kick?
And what do you think?
Yeah. But Stephen Robinson was quite right after the match when he said that VAR is soul destroying. I'm not blaming VAR so much as the people who operate it. I just think we're getting too much wrong.
Or the handball rule being an absolute minefield.
Well, yeah. It's but VAR is doing nothing to enhance our game here.
I think that is a problem. VAR picks it up. The officials, I believe the officials are as confused as a lot of us looking at that and a lot of fans.
Hold that thought.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Hibs 0, Dundee United 1, and it's Glenn Middleton with the goal. It was a cross flicked on by Fletcher. He finds the top corner, and that's a dream start for Dundee United. Producer Callum is happy, and that really does shake things up at the bottom as well. Remember, Motherwell and Ross County playing each other, and Dundee United looking to take advantage of that, and a good start. Glenn Middleton and Stephen Fletcher, both ex-Hibs players, of course, and another one of these.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
And it's a lead for Livy. Sean Kelly with a low drive from the edge of the box, not missing Marvin Bartley's input from the sidelines quite yet, and they have taken the lead as well. So it's all come to life. St Johnstone 0, Livingston 1, Hibs 0, Dundee United 1. Hibs all over the place at the back, says David Friel, and the visitors in front in two of the games.
I did say to you, if you were playing a back four with Will Fish in it and Rocky Bashiri, you'd be quite happy about that. They are very poor defensively. David Friel also called it prior to kick-off when he said that the pressure had still to remain on Lee Johnson because of all of the talking that he does and the results not matching his talking. If talking turned into league points, Hibs would be above Celtic in the table. But the talk is not matched by what happens on the park for Lee Johnson. And if you fail to follow up the win over Motherwell last weekend and you're at Easter Road, they will not be happy, the Hibs fans.
Stephen Kelly it was, by the way. My apologies, it's me getting mixed up. Stephen Kelly for Livingston. So still the fact remains, Livy are 1-up at St Johnstone. However, got one of these.
VAR review with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Just having a look at that Livy goal. Motherwell have hit the post though. Stuart McKinstry cutting in, would have been a wonderful effort. Cuts in onto that right boot, bends it. And the goal does stand, by the way, for Livingston. So there we are. And Motherwell coming close as well, Mark Wilson.
Brilliant effort. And this is why I don't understand McKinstry being at the team. You know, you've brought him to the club, back to the club for a reason, and you can clearly see when you look at this boy, he's got ability. Just opens things up, comes in off the left hand side of the box on his right foot, curls it into the far post, pretty much like Kent's against Celtic, but he's got a bit of composure about him,
Mark. He showed that against Hibs when he went through, and the goalkeeper never looked like missing. Good goal, very unlucky there. I think Fraser's got a decent game at Fir Park. I know the weather's poor, but I think he's got a decent game.
Ryan McGeever of Dumbarton's had enough of the weather. He wants up the road. He's been sent off after 13 minutes there. Forfar against Dumbarton. We'll be going nowhere because he'll be waiting in the team bus, I would imagine.
You talk about players and who are at Celtic and Rangers, and be careful what you wish for and where you go, and don't leave Celtic and Rangers without really giving it proper thought. Luton 2, West Brom 0. What is Tom Rogic doing floating around at West Brom?
Yeah, it can't be a pleasant experience. Before we got interrupted by those goals, which I don't mind, we were about to debate that penalty not given to St Mirren. Where were we?
We agreed it was a penalty.
Yeah, I thought it was a penalty as well, but again, I don't blame VAR. The officials, I think, are as confused as anyone. Now, people say, well, how can that be the case? But the rule just, I think, is so open to interpretation sometimes that I don't think it should be. I think it should be tightened up. I think it should be clarified. And I get it's there in IFAB and it's there in black and white, but it's not just our league that's having this problem. It's throughout Europe,
and again,
throughout the world.
To be fair, I have still seen a split here. You might all agree, but I've seen plenty of people this morning saying that can you actually tell, can you definitively tell if the ball strikes Kai Rolls below the t-shirt line, as it used to be called, at the bottom of the armpit, whatever? Can you definitely tell it hits him below that? Is he trying to get his hand out of the way? None of that mitigation for you?
I refuse to live in a world with t-shirt lines.
But this is the thing. You have no choice, because if
cardigan line.
But this is the thing. You have no choice, because that's what the referee's asked to assess. It's alright us being flippant, and this phrase that everyone's gone, I don't know what a penalty is anymore, which everyone just keeps saying and just keeps throwing out there willy-nilly. You have to tell if it's below the t-shirt line or not.
I go with the St Mirren manager Stephen Robinson, who clearly
he would say it's a penalty though.
I fully understand that. However, the man might be right.
But you have to tell us why. That's what I'm saying. It has to be that way, because otherwise we're just throwing our own general. And by the way, I don't even disagree, but I'm talking about, let's get there in the right way first. Can you definitively tell it was low enough in the arm?
No, you can't. But I agree that the whole handball thing has become utterly shambolic. But I also sympathise with the St Mirren manager when he says that VAR is soul destroying. But nobody knows where they are anymore, and I am not getting full confidence in the people who are operating this stuff.
What do you think, Mark? Can you definitively tell it's low enough in the arm? Do you think he's trying to get his hand out the way? These are the defences, if you like.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that then. So if he's trying to get his hand out the way, but it's still outstretched and it still hits you, what's the ruling on that?
Well, do you know what? There's another thing. See, when you look through all the angles, I keep seeing this. People keep showing us the still image from behind the goal where, my goodness, it looks like his hand is straight out and the ball hits it. Can you tell by that image if the ball's hitting his hand at that point? I'm not sure.
Or leaving his hand.
I'm genuinely asking.
Well, in freeze frames,
when you see it in,
you see it in real time,
because of where he is, does it look like the hand is a bit closer down? These are the things that you have to try.
So when you freeze a picture, you don't know where that picture's taken, if the ball's on the way out of play, so you can spin that any which way. But watching it in live time, for me, that is a penalty. I mean, if you're saying people are split, fine. But again, I'm trying to compare it to others that have happened this year, where players have tried to get their hands out the way and it's hit them. And then the argument is, if they're wrong, should this one be wrong? But you've got to referee with the same consistency.
This is the thing that we don't, because you don't hear this. We don't get that communication from what you're led to believe, that there are efforts that are on goal. It tends to be a bit more strict, Gordon. So I don't know. I'm second guessing here. That's clearly not on goal. It's a ball that's going out of play. Whether that sort of lowers the bar a bit, this is where it would be nice to get those regular explanations, the regular communication. Yeah,
and then you can get a clearer picture of it, because as you said there, we are second guessing. I would probably go in the sense of, I think it's a penalty. When I seen it at the beginning, I thought it was a penalty.
So you think definitely low enough on the arm?
Yeah, I think, and I think his arms. And when you look, and when he hits the ball, I know it's going away from goals, but it changes slightly the angle of the ball. I think his hand is out. I really do. I don't think he needs.
You don't think he's trying to pull it away as he turns round?
I think it's a penalty kick. And look, if you have 10 people in here, 5 may say penalty, 5 may say against. I think that's a penalty kick. Now I'd feel very hard done by going and I know what Mark's saying, because we're looking at different ones, and the ones that, like, say O'Reilly, Burnaby, when you thought, well, the ball was going towards goals, and
O'Reilly's wasn't, but Burnaby's
was. I thought it was a penalty kick. I've got to be honest.
They don't give penalties for handball at Tynecastle.
We've got another one of these. Where are we?
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Did anyone have Stephen Kelly to be on a hat-trick within 17 minutes? He's doubled his tally, he's doubled Livy's tally, and Dave Galloway called it. He said St Johnstone's home record was miserable and it is getting worse. St Johnstone have been getting it in the neck off their own fans for ticket pricing and giving too many stands away to opposition fans, and it's not going great on the pitch either. Stephen Kelly with a 15-minute double, I should say, and Livy are 2-0 up.
It's a real confidence booster for St Johnstone as they approach Rangers in the Scottish Cup next weekend. But at the start I said that Davy Martindale is a phenomenon. Now he's already on his way now, well on his way to 31 points, which would take him above Aberdeen.
Yeah, I think they're better without Marvin Bartley.
No, I think you're being a bit unfair.
The evidence is there. They're getting off to a flyer.
His lawyers may be listening. I'd urge you all to be careful.
Listen, the way that we argue about things on here, that is the type of flimsy proof that people offer for various things, so that might do.
But that's a phenomenal performance again from Livingston.
For St Johnstone, Hugh, though, they must be starting to look over their shoulder now. Things go Dundee United's way, like they are at the minute, and if Ross County can nick a win or Motherwell, then that points gap isn't too big, and you're looking over your shoulder at the bottom rather than top six.
Stuart McKinstry's definitely Motherwell's main threat. That's another one he's cut in on that far side, and this time it's Ross Laidlaw producing the save. I think he eventually comes back onto the left foot this time and flashes one near post.
If Dundee United win today, Mark, and they are one up at Easter Road, they might only be 2 points adrift of St Johnstone. So therefore the pressure does begin.
Seen that league, Hugh. See if you can keep yourself in that middle 9th to 5th. The points they're not a lot of points between them at all. Then you do a wee run at the end, you're top 6, no problem. The big problem for, like, say, Motherwell and Ross County just now is if you don't start winning the odd game, you put yourself under severe pressure.
Sean in his sick bed will be happy. Hamilton Accies 1, Morton 0. Andy Winters 19th minute penalty, putting the home side in front against Dougie Imrie, of course, a fan's favourite in South Lanarkshire.
Well done to them, to John Rankin and everyone. I didn't see that coming, but then I wish several hundred offences taken into consideration.
Hamilton Accies 1 up then on Morton. Dunfermline 1 up against Peterhead. Craig Whiten opening the scoring for the Pars. St Mirren fans, by the way, on that topic there, that handball, don't forget the open line's here at 5. So if you've been waiting to get something off your chest, if you think this would be getting spoken about much more if it was one of the big sides, why are we not getting the same publicity? Well, please do give us a call. Make sure it gets the lengthy discussion that you feel it deserves. The open line will be here a bit later on in the show. So goals going in then, despite the miserable weather, there is a level of entertainment out there, especially if you are a Livy fan, because you're 2-0 up at St Johnstone.
You brought up the question, Gordon, of the St Johnstone fans who've taken it very badly that 3 stands have been given to Rangers. If there are any more goals for Livy in the first half, then anger will emerge.
I can't see the argument against that for St Johnstone. I really can't.
Giving up the stands.
Yeah. I can't.
You are so wrong. Don't get me started.
No, St Johnstone hardly get a crowd, Gordon.
So
right. And
so you sell your soul then, and annoy all
listen,
all
I've
your
sold
fans.
my soul all my life.
Exactly.
And I ain't going to change now.
It got you.
Exactly. Sitting here with you guys on a Saturday enjoying your company. But if you've got a chance to bring in some money to the club that will improve your club, and prove everything about your club.
Short-term thinking.
Doesn't matter.
It does.
Doesn't
matter.
It does. Doesn't matter.
You ask the outgoing.
It's all about the pound.
You ask the outgoing Alan Burrows, right? Because on that day you might get more, but you're then left with a fan base and their kids and their kids and their kids that think you don't care about them and think you don't have your best interest. You're also in a cup competition, by the way, a cup competition which St Johnstone have done really well in recent years, and you're giving up your home advantage.
I think you flip it and say we are caring about you because we're selling our soul to get more money
on that
to
one
help
occasion.
this club.
On that one occasion, but see if you ask Alan
you're
Burrows.
not doing it every week.
See if you ask Alan Burrows, he'll tell you that you start making these decisions, and eventually your season ticket base will grow, and these are the fans that are going to pay your season tickets, and they're going to do it year after year. That's the type of relationship you have to have. If you look at those one occasions, you get it wrong.
So you're telling me that by not doing that, St Johnstone are going to increase their growth in season tickets next year because of the gesture of going, well, we stopped Rangers having 3 stands.
That's the type of decision that can lead to that relationship where you think that the club's got your best interests at heart. Of course, I'm not saying on that one single thing.
Yeah.
But St Mirren have done it, Motherwell have done it. That's what they do.
I think you can still care for your own fans, but also look after your club, and I think you've got a duty to look after your club.
Well, isn't it telling that all the St Johnstone fans disagree with you? You know, that's the way they feel. It's very difficult for you at the outside to say that that's wrong.
Well, I'm looking at it as a neutral. If I ran a business and ran a club, I would probably sell the tickets,
and you'd run it into the ground.
I'd love to see your business.
I didn't.
What business would you run?
Anyway, there was a bit of VAR drama at Fir Park because there was a county penalty claim. Edwards and Kelly, well, I was going to say colliding, but I guess the decision was that there was no collision because he went down a bit easy, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think in the eyes of the officials, and no penalty given.
Yeah,
a bit easy. I think that's a dive, and a blatant dive at that. The goalkeeper comes out, Kelly comes out. I think he maybe misjudges it, but there's no way he makes contact there.
The only thing that would worry you, Gordon, if you were a Motherwell
defending
manager, is the defending again is so soft.
I know we've brought in 2 attacking players in January, and the more the merrier for me, because I think we're so dependent on Van Veen. Obviously McKinstry, I think, is a very good talent, scored a goal against Hibs, he's come close a couple of times, but if you're going to survive, every manager will tell you the first thing they go in and do is shore up the defence, be hard to beat, then go and get points, pick up points, win games. We look like we can ship goals for fun just now, and that's my worry about Motherwell.
United playing some lovely stuff by all accounts, so good start to that game for them.
I think, see, for Motherwell, see if you're going to bring players in, they've got to make an instant impact. Now, is the boy in the bench centre half? Is
Blaney, and he's been there for a few weeks, remember?
So, you know, is it a case that Stevie Hamill's had a look at him in training and just thought he's going to make matters worse? But how could it be worse?
I'm concerned about that, Mark.
That would be the question, because he's the one thing I've seen is I don't know if you'd call it a concern. He's left-sided, right? And we don't do this with right-sided players. You
just play them anyway.
You just play two. Ricky Lammy's left-footed, Shane Blaney's left-footed. Are you going to play them both? But can that be enough to keep you out the team, Gordon, when the team's defending as badly as they were last week?
No, not in the modern day game. You can come in. Look, Mark couldn't get a game with Celtic at right back. He ended up going and playing left back and made a decent career out of it.
We were having problems at left back, so
Yeah,
I filled
but-
a hole. I could easily have played
get a
right
game,
back.
mate. Let's be honest
I should
about
have played
it.
both positions.
You can tell everybody about all the games you played in, but you couldn't get a game at right back. The thing is, if you've got a problem in your defence, you can't sit there and say, well, you're not getting in there because you're left footed and I can't play you in the right side. You're a defender, just go and play. Some players
Ange
prefer
Postecoglou said a thing this morning about his team selection for this evening's game against Kilmarnock, and he said that I see them every day. I know who I should be putting in the starting 11, and I have to think that Stevie Hamill is in the same position. He clearly doesn't see enough in Blaney to give him a game.
Managers can get these things wrong, of course.
Absolutely, but on his head be it then. I mean, we've got an altogether on their heads be it situation. We've got Lee Johnson all talk, no action once again, down 1-0 to Dundee United. We've got Callum Davidson down 2-0 to Livingston at Perth. So, you know,
when you're shipping goals like Motherwell,
It's interesting.
Blaney has to be so far away from the others that are actually playing that you don't put him in, because if he's anywhere near it and he looks fit,
just
and you
try
think,
the
well,
difference,
let's just try.
Because if the solution apparently this week, and we're about to find out if it works or not, is to bring in a new right back, move the existing right back into midfield, maybe shore up the full team. That can happen. That's perfectly possible. It doesn't need to be that you ditch one of your two centre backs, but you know, if you had a strong option, as Mark says, if you had what you felt was a strong option, you would have changed that back to from last week.
And he doesn't trust it to go to a back three. So I think it's a good move by putting McGinn in there to give the protection of the two centre backs. If that's your two centre backs you've got to go with, give them
loud
protection.
boos ringing around Easter Road. The fans aren't happy with what they're seeing until
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
And it's Kevin Nisbet who equalises. Stephen Fletcher had just fired wide. Hibs had made a mistake. Easter Road was furious. Up pops Kevin Nisbet. 4th goal in the space of a game and a quarter or whatever it is, and Hibs are level.
Well, that's just in time for Lee Johnson, because the Hibs fans know what they're looking at in general terms. They were quite pleased with what happened at Motherwell last Sunday, but in general terms Hibs have been shocking. And that goal has arrived just in the nick of time, because the last thing you need on top of a poor team on the park is a mutinous crowd.
Yeah, great finish, lovely feet to get some space, then fires over.
He's the one that will keep Lee Johnson a job, by the way.
Goal scorers keep managers in the job.
I was going to say that. You could be hopeless for 89 minutes, but if you've got a goal scorer that can, you know, pull you out a hole, then you'll do okay. So
many managers that owe me marks throughout the years. I think Nisbet is massive. Now, I know what David was saying about the fans, about Lee Johnson and the results and whatever. He gets a result today, it could be in the top 6 by tonight.
But Hibs have to think better than that. Hibs have to think.
Yeah, but they've sacked that many managers, Hugh, as quickly. They ain't going to sack a manager now when he's in the top 6. They ain't going to happen.
Well, the fans clearly do not buy into him, and he's got a problem there. So
I think it's the structure, the full structure of the club, and that's why they're now looking to appoint, is it a director of football? Rumours or calls for John Park, who went into Rangers not that long ago, to go in, someone who's been at the club before and had great success. But the signing policy, how much of a say does these managers get in that? I think that's up for question with the Hibs fans.
6 goals in 6 games since returning for Kevin Nisbet, though.
Good striker, Gordon. I know that Steve Clark's doing his rounds now, looking at players. He was at Tynecastle last night. Nisbet must be back on the radar again. Shankland obviously, but I like Nisbet. I think his timing of his runs as a centre forward, and he never seems flustered when he finishes. I watched his finish this morning actually, last week at Fir Park. I think it was his 3rd one. He comes across the defender, great timing, and it's a cool finish.
Alloa 2, FC Edinburgh 0, a double for Connor Salmon. Falkirk 1, Clyde 0. Jim Duffy won't be happy at that, although he was acknowledging the size of the task last night. Callum Morrison has opened the scoring there. And Cove Rangers 0, Wraith Rovers 1. Club legend Lewis Vaughan, very popular, one of the most popular attackers I can ever remember.
He's a good player, he's a good player. I think he'll be up there next to my peg. He'll probably just be number 8, round about there.
3 games. You won number 8.
Number 8, but that was designer at that time. Last 8 was Gascoigne, DL.
Oh,
people like that.
Do you know what this calls for?
Oh, jeez,
He made me do it, Hugh.
He's already said he's better than Erling Haaland, and now he's going Gaza.
I didn't say a better. I thought City would suit my style of play now.
Should we expose the conversation that happened at the break, Mark, when he reiterated the fact that he would have fitted into this Man City team, which I scoffed at, and he then turned round to me and said, "What are you talking about? You never even saw me play." As if I needed to see you play to know that you weren't as good as Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne.
That was a great response for you, that, Gordon.
I wasn't making that point. My point was that the Man City team of today would have suited my style of play. There's no doubt, with my pace, my ability.
Ryan Porteous is back in defence for Hibs, so bit of a mixed bag, Mark, that, because it's alright saying that just shows you, it was a mistake, but he has actually done has done quite well.
Porras
in the midfield role.
Yeah.
He stepped in there, and I must admit, at Fir Park last week, when he stepped in, I thought, I don't think Hibs need to make that change. When Hibs made those changes, I thought, this might give Motherwell the sort of boost to go and get something. And then, of course, he's the one that comes into midfield, makes the tackle, and sets
the goal up. But by the way, I think he does look comfortable in there. He's good in possession. It just goes to show he's got another side of his game. I don't think that's a bad thing for Porras when he's looking for a move at the minute, and clubs are looking and going, well,
utility player.
He can play in a number of positions. So
they'll need to keep him until the Hearts Scottish Cup tie next weekend, because without him they will be mauled. So I think that will be his last game, and then he'll go. You
could do with reminding us of that teaser, please, Hugh, and we'll try and do some wrong answers.
In the Scottish League Cup weekend, can you tell me the last half dozen Scottish players to score in a Scottish League Cup final? Who are the last 6 Scots to score in a Scottish League Cup final?
Okay, I can see some good answers coming in. Let's do some wrong ones. FM Dafty wants to mention Lee Griffiths.
No.
He would also like to mention Callum McGregor.
Thanks for mentioning him, but he's not
there. That was
there.
a Scottish Cup final, wasn't it, against Motherwell?
He was on my list.
Shane's Gaming wants to go Stephen Thompson.
No.
Okay, get your answers in. We've got one of these.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Easter Road's booing again. Ryan Porte should go back into midfield because Ian Harkes has put Dundee United back in front. A great move. He cuts inside. The shot deflected though. A bit of good fortune over David Marshall, and Dundee United are back in front.
This is watching this is watching a man on a window ledge. Lee Johnson, because the crowd are booing. Hibs get an equaliser. The crowd stay silent. Dundee United take the lead again. The crowd start to get really upset. So he is dicing with his job right now.
Good game though.
Good on Dundee United, by the way. In recent weeks, we've seen them against Rangers. First half they were okay. Second half the Rangers were just the better team. But before that they put together a good wee run, and backing it up again today at Easter Road. Yeah, a good game.
Cove have equalised. They've had a torrid time of it, haven't they? Leighton McIntosh has scored a penalty on 32 minutes. Cove 1, Wraith 1. I don't think it will provide any comfort to Lee Johnson or those Hibs fans, Gordon, but from the outside that's a cracking fixture at Easter Road taking place.
Yeah, good game. 3 goals, not even half time. David Frail will be delighted with that. I've got to say, I think there'll be more. I don't think the 2 defences are the best I've ever seen. Dundee United are growing a bit of confidence. Yes, okay, they lost to Rangers, but they've got decent players, Dundee United. They've got players that can hurt you, players that can score goals. But as long as Hibs keep Nisbet on the pitch, they've still got a chance of getting back in the game.
Livingston still 2 up, remember, at McDermott Park. A wonderful start to the game for them, and Stephen Kelly in particular. A double for him.
Not quite what Derek McInnes wants to hear. Dundee United doing well. They could go above Kilmarnock should they win at Easter Road. That's not the kind of thing you want to hear just before you play Celtic in a cup semi-final.
That'll all be wiped away if you can do the unthinkable and cause a shock in the semi-final, I suppose. Where are we? We'll be a good bit away from team news yet, but we can do that in the second half of the 3 o'clock games. We will focus on the build-up. We'll go to Hampden, we'll get the build-up, we'll give you team news, all the rest of it. So looking forward to that. Great fixture in prospect. Dave Galloway says Livy are actually pushing to kill this game off before half time. That's not something you would be expecting, Mark, in a home fixture against a team that's only 4 points above you going into the game.
I did say it was a middle of the table clash today, and each team obviously, if they won, then they spring up a few places. But Livy, you wonder how David Martindale does do it. Hugh's right. Marvin Bartley leaves, well, Dougie Imrie leaves first to go and be a manager, and then he brings in Marvin.
I think Marvin there anyway.
Marvin was there, but he elevated him to assistant. Did he?
I'm not sure that's the order of it. But anyway.
But anyway, Marvin goes, he brings in someone else, and he just keeps getting a tune, no matter who's beside him or which personnel he's got in the pitch. He seems just to rotate things nicely, keep getting results.
It's good. It's good man management. That's what it is, because he churns players in left, right, and centre. He loses them every summer. He brings new one in. We all sort of, I think, is this going to be the season where they're down fighting relegation? And he just gets a tune out of his players. He gets them organised, he gets them fighting, he gets them working. He's been absolutely brilliant. You've got to say, you can't criticise the boy at all.
They have a hand-to-mouth budget. They have a very small supporter base. Every time you see the Tony Macaroni Stadium on television, it's empty, and yet this guy gets performances out of his players, and he signs good players, and he organises them well. The guy is a phenomenon.
Yeah, the latest effort was a Bruce Anderson one deflected into the goalkeeper's arms, so still 2-0. The game not done and dusted yet, just a far from ideal start if you are Callum Davidson, and still nothing. Motherwell, Ross County, maybe a...
Tell Fester to run down and close my windows. There's nothing happening there at all.
The type of outcome that maybe can happen when it's a nervous lower league.
Yeah,
Motherwell have been the better team though.
Yeah.
I think Fraser made a good point. For once, I think that he's right. Motherwell, for me today, have got to get the first goal. See if they don't get the first goal, I think we're in real
If Motherwell score one goal, that's the game finished.
Because don't you start that. Every time you say that, it never works out.
Ross County, 14 goals in 21 games. They don't know. They would need to send away to a catalogue to get a goal. So one goal for Motherwell, and that's the game finished.
Well, it's not happening yet. It is goalless at Fir Park for the meantime. Another reminder of the teaser, Hugh. Do some more wrong answers.
Yep. Topical question on League Cup weekend. Who are the last 6 Scots to score in a Scottish League Cup final? The happy half dozen.
Right, let's do more wrong answers. We gave you a few. What did we give you? Lee Griffiths, Callum McGregor. They were some wrong ones as we tried to help you along the way. Alan's got most of them. Aidan, that's a decent list from him. Lots of people putting Stephen Thompson in though. That's a very common, and that's not correct, is it, Hugh?
No, he's not there.
Right, okay. Derek FM and various others are going for Ryan Stevenson. Too far back. Yeah?
Yep, too far back.
Okay. What just happened?
He's going this way. Yeah.
I failed to read my own list properly.
Oh, you thought he was on the list?
I know
Don't
exactly
you
what you just done there.
Darren McKinley also went for Ryan Stevenson.
Right.
So there we go.
Ollie Crankshaw booked 35 minutes into his first game in Scottish football. He'll be a credit to us all.
Sean Goss was booked earlier from Motherwell as well, so that midfield needs to maybe tread a bit carefully, but still no goals in that one. The natives are far from happy in Perth, according to Dave Galloway. I don't know if he means just generally or in terms of the result.
You cannot. They're already an unsettled supporter base because of events off the field. When you start to give them a reason to be angry for events on the field, you get the double whammy.
Oh, don't worry, Roman Abramovich over here in the corner tells you that's the way you should run a football club. So
I don't know why he's handy. I don't know why he's not applying for the CEO job at Fir Park.
That's true, by the way. Would you do that? Throw your CV in? You've been director of football at Airdrie, of course.
Yeah, great success.
Thank you, Mark.
But that's why we wouldn't take you, because you can't go from Airdrie to Motherwell, can you?
No. You sold your soul.
I did sell my soul. I sold that for a couple of quid as well.
Mercenary.
I've nothing else to sell. But I tell you what, I'll be big shoes to fill, because Alan's a size 11. It's going to be a big job.
Been wanting that joke all week, it's rubbish.
More importantly, has none of you had the call from Marvin Bartley to go and join the backroom staff?
I'm a bit disappointed, by the way.
I thought you especially
by experience.
You didn't even take the time to learn the guy's name, which is a bit of an issue. But I thought he shared a couple of nights with you on the show. Can I just clear up? I thought he would have appreciated the sharp football mind that you've got.
Do you not think me and the big guy got on really good? I went away from
saw the
here.
chemistry.
I was full of energy when I went away from here, excited, thinking I hope Mark gets another holiday. I'll be back on with him. But I'm a bit disappointed. But do you know what'll happen? Watch this, Montrose will probably,
and he'll come crawling.
He'll come on the phone. Dazzler, I need you.
Hugh, what about you? And it sort of,
well, you see, I would go as a motivational speaker, but with Bartley there, I wouldn't get a word in.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
St Johnstone 0, Livingston 3, and it's Bruce Anderson this time. It came from a corner. He's been in decent goal scoring form of late, and he's got another one, and Livingston are 3-0 up. If you're a St Johnstone fan, you are probably chucking it at half time.
Is that 3 in the last 2 games? Did you get 2 last week?
When you think Livy's only scored 20 goals this season.
Who, Bruce Anderson?
Livy scored 20 goals this season, and they've scored 3 in this first half at McDermott Park. Remarkable.
Take down that Bruce Anderson stat, because it looks like James Penrice may got the final touch,
but you're
and
quite right.
it's given to him. But the Saints fans are heading for the exits.
People just go home. They're in a huff with the club.
And if the sun's out, you might be tempted, but not on a day like this.
No. But that is. There's a great irony about St Johnstone. They win 2 trophies, and it's the most successful period in the club's history, and no fans could get to see it because it was during the COVID pandemic. And now, when fans can see exactly what's in front of them, it's gone pear-shaped.
I've got this thing this is why I'm not like you. I never leave a game early. I just don't. Completely against it. Just don't get it.
Even at 3.
And then last weekend, did have somewhere that we had to be, me and a friend and the friend's kid, and we left Fir Park a couple of minutes to go, and as we're walking down we hear the cheer, and then you know that Ross Tierney scored. You think Then we got further down and we heard another cheer, and we were convinced that we could read the cheer and that Motherwell had equalised. But it was just the full-time whistle, and it was the Hibs fans cheering.
We've achieved the cheer.
Oh, listen, you two leave at 60 minutes. I don't even want to speak.
He's a
about
known
this for you
face
two.
in the Motherwell area. He gets mobbed, so he wants to avoid the crowds on the way out, don't
Well, the roads are busy. I have to get down the road before the traffic.
So here we are. We'll get a St Johnstone team who played Aberdeen last weekend, an Aberdeen team who have been rubbish most of the season, and they lose 2-0, and now they're 3-0 down at home. This is critical time.
Producer Callum's bragging that he stayed for the 7 in the Netherlands, but I
his
don't think anywhere else to go.
His flight wasn't due to go for another 3 hours.
Not sure we're giving him the credit for that one, I must admit.
He'd had a long day that day, remember? He'd started
And
early.
look where you are now, 2-1 up at Easter Road. The dream continues. Stephen Fletcher, though, has had a header tipped over, looking to go 3-1 up.
Well, the Hibs fans, I'm waiting for David Friel to describe the noise when the halftime whistle blows.
Yeah, I'm like you. You're very cynical. You always look forward to these things, but I must admit, I think that could be.
I am the Grim Reaper for a reason.
One to look forward to. I think we should probably round this off, Hugh, to give us a bit of breathing space at the end of the half.
The first half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
The last 6 Scots to score in a Scottish League Cup final are Paul Hanlon, Sean Rooney, Ryan Christie, James Forrest, Michael Gardine, and Chris Commons.
There we are. What a list that is. That's actually tough. That is tough when you go through them, to recall all of them, get them all on there, beat everyone else to the punch. I'm impressed with the effort on that first half teaser, and well done to Mikey, who was third fastest. Miko was in second place, and Daniel Miller, well done to you, Daniel. The bragging rights are yours wherever you're off to tonight. You were the fastest on that first half teaser. How many did you two dumplings get?
5 out of 6.
5.
Didn't get
Chris Commons. We got the rest.
What you forgot about the goal, or did you not think he was a Scot because he wasn't born here?
Yeah,
or what was
it's a dubious one. That
it's not.
Which goal? I can't remember the goal he scored. Anyway, Gardine, good shout from myself, but Hanlon from Daz.
Christie, easy. Forrest, easy.
Well done. You're a student of the game, right? The half-time whistles are starting to go. Forford Dumbarton, for instance, in League 2, goalless there. Have we got any in our featured matches? I don't think so yet. And have you noticed not really any VAR drama in the first half? Plenty of time for that to change in the second half, but we're on track for a fairly efficient ending here. Not like the games are going to drag on too much longer at the end of the first half.
I think we've got tremendous interest in 3 matches today. I mean, the Dundee United scoreline so far, 2-1 up against Hibs. The Livy scoreline, 3 up away from home against St Johnstone. And the 2 bad lots at Fir Park are just that. And we're just waiting for that one Motherwell goal that settles the game.
Cove Rangers 1, Wraith Rovers 2. So that was the half-time score. Wraith went back in front in that one. Games coming to the end of the half. I think Motherwell Ross County doesn't seem to have been the worst, Gordon, but
no, but we need a goal. I think just two teams that are nervous to lose anything, Gordon, because I think the first goal takes the win here. There's no doubt in that for me. So it's a nervy situation, but it's been decent. I'm really interested to hear what Fraser makes of it. But I've got to say, next goal is a winner.
Like, this has got nothing to do with the obvious lack of knowledge or ability. Do you know the real reason I couldn't be a football manager? See, just standing out in the rain and pretending that it's not raining. That does my head in. Steve McLaren had the right idea. I know he get ridiculed for it. Is he just standing there, just getting battered? Because you have to be seen to just stand in the touchline.
I did do that once.
Oh, nonsense.
The umbrella?
No, stand and get battered with rain. And I was up at Inverness. I was taking pelters and I couldn't get in for shelter. And I swear, my suit was drenched.
The big baggy suit. That must have been heavy.
They actually helped me onto the team bus with it. Ring it out. See, when I now think I'll never.
You know what? We need to try and get more footage of him as a manager when things are going badly. I just want to see you on the touchline.
I was good
with that big baggy
suit. They just for men starting to get it down his forehead.
I can imagine. I started running. Oh no, there was nothing worse.
Stranraer 0, Albion Rovers 1 in the stroke of half time. A Charlie Riley penalty.
How is
Rovers'
the
main man this season?
How is the Pep of Palmerston getting on anyway?
It's goalless by all accounts, as is the scoreline at Fir Park. Fraser.
It is goalless, Gordon. Motherwell 0, Ross County 0. 45 minutes played and almost entirely in driving rain and a really strong blustery wind, and I think that's the reason for few chances at either end, although Motherwell did have the better of the half in chances. But a really slow start to the game. Players tried to get used to the conditions. County started positively. They'd taken the game to Motherwell in the first 10 minutes. The first chance did fall to Motherwell on the 10th minute. Young Stuart McKinstry, who's been the main threat for Motherwell, he cut inside from the left hand side of the penalty box, and he bent a lovely low shot with his right foot that hit the left hand post and out with the goalkeeper beaten. McKinstry was the danger man. 17th minute, he got the ball in the same area of the park. This time he went to shoot with his right, dummied onto his left foot, and this time his fierce shot was pushed away well by Ross Laidlaw at the near post. County then had a penalty claim. Ricky Lamy really shot with a heady pass back. Edwards got to the ball just inside the box before Kelly. The winger went down. Referee David Dickinson said no pen. Ross County players were claiming it was, but VAR said no pen, confirming Dickinson's decisions. But conditions were getting worse, really making it difficult for the players. Any ball in the air was difficult to judge in the blustery wind. It was shown by Liam Kelly kick out, which crossed the halfway line and was then blown back into the Motherwell half. McKinstry then headed a Max Johnson cross over the bar. The young winger was stretching, so it was a difficult chance, but the quality in the final third had dropped from the early part of the game. Max Johnson did well on the right hand side a couple of times through, and a couple of good crosses, but County defended well. And then just before the break, the young fullback did really well. He was aggressive in the middle of the park to win a loose ball, and he drove forward 10 yards, and from 20 yards his left foot shot was well struck, but straight at Laidlaw, who fisted the ball away. Not much else to talk about. It could be a game where one goal wins. At half time at Fir Park, Motherwell 0, Ross County 0.
Half time at McDermott Park, Dave Galloway.
Half time, St Johnstone 0, Livingston 3. It was a good start by St Johnstone, forcing a corner in the opening minute. Then Carey's effort from Wright's pass found the top of the net, but out of nothing, Livingston scored on 8 minutes. Stephen Kelly with a low drive from the edge of the box. Wotherspoon combined with May to send in a cross right across the Livy goalmouth, but there were no takers. And the visitors duly doubled their lead after 15 minutes. Bradley set up Devlin to cut the ball back for Stephen Kelly, arriving late to score with a fine finish. The home side came so close to pulling one back following a corner. George pulling off a fantastic save to keep out Clark's header. But in 40 minutes, Livy went 3-0 up following a corner kick. Anderson's effort was helped in from close range by Penrice, who got the final touch. And with that, the home fans started heading for the exits. The half-time whistle greeted by a loud chorus of boos from the home support. At the interval, St Johnstone 0, Livingston 3.
Maybe a contest to see which set of home fans can boo the loudest. We'll go to Easter Road right on cue, because it's not quite finished yet, but we've given you the first two half-time reports, so we're poised and ready for when David Friel gives us the nod. Of course, not as bad a scoreline. Certainly that game looks done and dusted unless St Johnstone can do something, and it is half-time at Easter Road. David?
Half-time, Gordon. Hibs 1, Dundee United 2. Hugh was asking me to describe the noise. Well, I think Tony Watt will probably hear the boos all the way in the east end of Glasgow after this really, really poor performance from Hibs. They've been awful. Kevin Nisbet did score, but Dundee United have been by far the better team, and let's not forget their part in this. They have been absolutely outstanding. To a man, they've been brilliant. But Stephen Fletcher, we spoke earlier on, he left Hibs in 2009, but he looks as good as ever. He has tormented the Hibs defence, and United are really, really good value for this lead so far. Ryan Porteous set the tone. He was playing in midfield to start with. He set the tone for Hibs with a horror pass to Fletcher under no pressure inside 60 seconds. Fletcher then played in Arnaud June, but his shot was saved by David Marshall. Hibs were really all over the place in those opening stages. United took a deserved lead in 6 minutes. Jim fired over a low cross. Fletcher again flicked it on, and Glenn Middleton found the top corner. Hibs tried to get back into it. Kyle McGuinness hit the bar from 25 yards. Really, really good effort. But United were playing a better football. Stephen Fletcher headed over again after a really good move in 20 minutes. And the former Hibs striker then fired wide after good work from Middleton down the left hand side. The Hibs fans were getting really, really restless, but Kevin Nisbet hauled him back into the game in 25 minutes. It was a long diagonal pass to Josh Campbell. He fed Nisbet. He still had work to do, but he shifted the ball to his right and then found the bottom corner. That made it 6 goals in 6 games since returning from his knee injury, but Hibs couldn't build on it. Within 5 minutes, United were back ahead. Another great move anyway with Ian Harkes racing into the box. He cut inside and then set a deflected shot over David Marshall. Stephen Fletcher, he's been absolutely everywhere. He's a header tipped over by Marshall as United looked for a third. They've been brilliant. Hibs awful. It's a big 45 minutes ahead for Lee Johnson. Half time, Hibs 1, Dundee United 2.
Plenty of drama around the Scottish Premiership and beyond. We'll give you a full roundup of the half-time scores next.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Luker's Jaguar. The big event is on now with exclusive discounts on approved used Jaguars.
Compare cheap van insurance quotes that really do cut the mustard at mustard.co.uk. Details online, authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Luker's Jaguar. The big event is on now with exclusive discounts on approved used Jaguars. Scottish football's league leader. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Half time in the 3 o'clock games. We're going to go to Hampden very soon as well and get a build up, followed by team news between Celtic and Kilmarnock. This is where it gets real. Kilmarnock fans heading along, looking to cause an upset, create history. Celtic fans looking to rekindle a nice relationship that they've had with the League Cup in recent seasons. David Friel, Hibs fans, last we spoke to you, it did not sound like they were taking it well, losing at half time against Dundee United. Does Lee Johnson make changes here? How unforgiving is this crowd going to be?
Yeah, it's pretty unforgiving, Gordon. I just popped downstairs there and I bumped into a Hibs fan who I've never met before in my life, and just looked at me and just said, I am so bleep angry. I think that kind of sums it up. The United fans to my right, there's a decent enough crowd from Dundee United. They've been singing Hibs are falling apart again to the Joy Division song, so that kind of sums it up. You know, the Hibs fans they're beyond restless actually. And I think the key thing is that United have played by far the better football here. They played some really nice stuff, and Stephen Fletcher have got a striker that's leading the line so well, and everything's feeding off him as well. But you just look at Hibs, I think they basically need a moment of magic from Aidan McGee or Kevin Nisbet, because as a team they look really, really disjointed. He's tried to shift it about. Ryan Porteous started in midfield, he's going back to defence. I think they've got a kind of back three there, but it just doesn't look good for them. And I think this is one of the biggest 45 minutes of the season for Hibs and for the manager.
Wow, it certainly sounds like it. A lot cagier, a lot closer at Fir Park. Fraser, how will Stevie Hamill be feeling? Does he take optimism, confidence from the fact that they've probably had the best chances, or is there that nagging doubt that this one's going to be settled by a fine margin?
I think he'll know it's going to be settled by a fine margin, Gordon, but I don't think he'll be too unhappy with his team's performance. They've looked well organised. Paul McGinn's actually done really well in midfield. Him and Goss just sitting, protecting the back two, the two full-backs trying to get forward on either side as well. Young McKinstry, I think Gordon Dale's talking about earlier on, he bring the lad up, play him. It's surprised if he's not in the team, and he looks like he's got a real good future. He's been the main goal threat, and at the other end, the back line has looked pretty strong as well, because they've kept chances few and far between. Hardly any, in fact not even one proper chance for Ross County, despite the fact that County had 50% of the possession during the half. So I think Stevie Hamill will be pretty happy. But so Malcolm Mackay, I think he would take a Doer 0-0 or a Doer 1-0 win over the piece, and he'll be quite happy to go in at 1-0. They're going to have to play against the wind, which I think might suit them as well. The wind blowing from right to left as I sit in the main stand, and it's really strong, and County found they're knocking balls over the top of it, just running out the park. So I think this one's really on a fine knife edge. Really difficult one to call, despite the fact that Motherwell had the better of the first half.
Do you know the worst bit about that? That description tells me the wind is blowing towards Gordon Dale's flat.
Yeah, I took that on board.
And you've got that. I had to sit and figure it out for a minute, but it definitely is
100%.
And your windows are open, it's rain.
Yeah, it's got to be flooded by the time I go
Hope
home.
your bandages are waterproof.
The recliner will be in some.
The recliner.
They'll be in some trouble.
Well, listen, there's an obvious joke that we just won't do on a family show on a Saturday afternoon. But anyway, it sounds like it's time to get the second halves very much underway.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard Goal Flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements. Trade accounts available now. Call them today.
Tell you what, Hugh Keevins, it's all set up for quite a second half, just in various ways. If that gets any worse for Callum Davidson, I mean, the St Johnstone fans, I know they're not the biggest in number, and they're not that vociferous at times, but my goodness, they'll be furious at that. It could really go wrong at Easter Road, or you get this spirited fight back, and then anyone's game at Fir Park.
There are jackets on Sugarly Nails the length and breadth of the country. If Hibs lose this match and take a pounding from Hearts in the Scottish Cup next weekend, Lee Johnson will be an unemployment statistic. The job that Callum Davidson has done for St Johnstone, win the Scottish Cup and the League Cup, will of course have banked him much goodwill, but there's only so much a crowd can take, and the crowd have fallen out with the club, and to lose to Livingston by any more than 3 at home would have repercussions. As for Motherwell Ross County, did we really expect anything other than what we've got at the moment? I still think it hinges on Motherwell scoring a goal, because there is no way in this world that Ross County can score twice in one game.
Really wish you wouldn't keep saying that, but anyway, let's not dwell on it. Gordon, big second half coming up.
Massive.
We've started already.
Massive for many reasons. We're touching on the fact that David's meeting Hibs fans that are obviously venting their anger and not happy with the situation there. Dundee United have got to take a lot of credit. I think Dundee United would have fancied that big time today. Motherwell Ross County, I agree with Fraser. I think that they look a bit more organised, that a bit of a defensive block sitting in front of the two centre halves, giving them a bit of protection, getting the full backs up and down the flanks has certainly helped. But I disagree with Hugh in the sense, I just think the first goal wins this game. It's one of those games, first goal's the winner. And Livingston, they just keep turning out results like it's second nature to them.
You look at Dundee United, Mark, though, and sometimes this gets thrown around and it can frustrate fans of that team because nobody's too good to go down. It's just not a thing. The league table doesn't lie and all that. But if there was one team that you would go, they'll be fine, it was going to be Dundee United. They've gone to Easter Road, they're dominating the game, they're winning, and Tony Watt's in a restaurant in the East End of Glasgow because he's injured. Dylan Levitt's not playing. They have good players.
Well, that was always the case from the start of the season.
Brighton 1, Liverpool 0. Solly March with the goal.
My grandson Archie told me it would be 2-1 Brighton, so he's better than his grandfather at this sort of stuff.
Yeah, I was just saying about United that they had good players at the start of the season. That's why I think it was that much a shock how things went for them at the start of the season. And the players have got to take responsibility in that. But when they get it right, they do look a good side. Today, they're getting it right. They're playing good football and they've scored 2 goals at Easter Road.
I mean, don't get me wrong, play this full section back if it goes wrong and Dundee United go down, just to remind us all that we talk nonsense. Hugh, if you're ready with this one.
I am.
And now just a quick note from our podcast sponsor Lookers, the new name for Taggarts across Glasgow and the West. We are proud to announce that Lookers is now the new name for Taggarts. Taggarts has been part of the Lookers Motor Group for nearly 20 years, and over time, being part of one of the largest multi-franchise dealer groups in the UK and Ireland, has helped Taggarts to provide a great customer experience, value and choice to their customers across Scotland, and that's something that will never change. And now, they've decided though to change the name above the door to move forward as one. You'll find the same great service and friendly faces you've come to know at their Jaguar, Land Rover and Volvo showrooms, working hard to give the best experience every time. You can now browse and shop online for your next car at lookers.co.uk and choose from thousands of used cars in stock with home delivery available. You can also discover the latest new car offers, book a test drive and book your next service online. Although the name has changed above the door, everything else is staying exactly the same, and you can still expect the same great service and friendly faces when you visit in store. Lookers, the new name for Taggarts across Glasgow and the West.
The second half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
Lot of information to absorb here. I have played alongside Emiliano Martinez and Robbie Fowler. I have been managed by Jack Ross and Carlos Carvalhal. I have played in an English major domestic cup final. A team of mine won a major European Cup final, but I wasn't in the matchday squad. And finally, I spent over 2 seasons in Scotland. Who am I? So point number 1, played alongside Emiliano Martinez and Robbie Fowler. Point number 2, managed by Jack Ross and Carlos Carvalhal. Point number 3, played in an English major domestic cup final. A team of mine also won a major European Cup final, but I wasn't in the matchday squad. And finally, I spent over 2 seasons in Scotland. Who am I?
Wow, what a question. If you want to see it all written down, because there is a lot of information, as Hugh says, go to @ClydeSSB on Twitter. You can see the question written down, but also that's where you send your answers in. So get your thinking caps on @ClydeSSB and send it over. It is a race, so you want to beat everyone else to it. Gordon, you tend to be quite good, surprisingly, at the Who Am I.
I'm putting the jigsaw together as we speak, Gordon.
Right, okay, that's fine. We'll see how you get on.
Mark's very impressed with my work.
I'm not struck by that. I don't think this is a guy you'll get though.
He's just written down 2 clubs.
All right.
No, 2
Yeah, but I'm
clubs.
going the right direction.
So why would I be impressed with that? They could be
Because
nonsense.
no, it's not there.
Let
no
me see
nonsense.
the 2 clubs.
There or there. Just nod your head.
Oh,
Is
he's
he
on
on
the right
it?
line. Yeah,
Is
he's
he?
on the right lines.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with your work.
Oh, he is.
Oh, don't you worry about
Yes,
that, boy.
indeed. Anyway, let's for the first time this afternoon head to the National Stadium, because we do have a League Cup semi-final in just under 90 minutes time. Celtic against Kilmarnock, and Andrew McLean has the build-up.
Yeah, this one, the first of 2 huge semi-finals this weekend. A massive day for players, staff, supporters. It will be majority Celtic fans in here who make their way to Hampden time and time again, season after season, but it'll never get any less special for them. And as for Kilmarnock, they'll have just over 7,000 fans in here, who it will certainly be a special occasion for, because it's not as common for them to make it as far in this competition. I heard Hugh earlier on talking about managers having jackets on Shugly nails. Well, Ange Postecoglou was just out there and his jacket was zipped right up to the top, hood up as well, because the weather here is absolutely brutal. There's been hailstones battering down, swirling around the National Stadium, so you wonder whether that's something that may play into Kilmarnock's hands. Would they prefer the conditions to be like this? Could it prove to be some sort of level, or need to wait and see? The sky's already pitch black as well here at the National Stadium. It's just after 4 o'clock, but still will be a very exciting occasion. First trophy of the season. They want to get to the final of this one. A chance for Celtic to stamp their authority on this campaign and get to the final of the League Cup. And many will say they've already stamped their authority on this Scottish football campaign with their league form. And it's a chance for Kilmarnock to create history as well. Fans remember that League Cup winning side in 2012 so fondly. We had Dieter van Turnhout, who scored the winning goal back in 2012, on the show this week. No offence to them, but I'm not sure many Kilmarnock fans would really remember his name if that goal never happened. So that's what the Kilmarnock players are hoping to replicate. They're hoping to get to the final, create history, etch their name in the history books at Rugby Park. But they've got a big task ahead of them, because they saw last week that although they competed well for 45 minutes against Celtic, Celtic came out in the second half and ended up winning that game. Celtic have so much quality in their side. How will Kilmarnock come out today to try and combat that? I will get you the team news, which should drop in about 5 to 10 minutes time.
Remarkably, Gordon Dalziel, you've got the teaser right and no one else has.
Well,
not a single.
hold on.
Or did you get it? Sorry.
No.
like him being excluded there a bit.
Together,
okay.
Alone we achieve so little. Together we achieve so much. I've always said that. So I set him up. He gave me the answer. There we go.
Very good chance, Ross County. Jordan White, free header 8 yards out, and he headed it wide. Should have scored. And the scene is set at the National Stadium, Hugh.
Yeah, the weather that Andrew's describing, obviously horrendous, but at the end of the day, weather doesn't decide football matches. The players just have to get on with it, and who knows what it'll be like by 5:30 at kick-off time. So I'm waiting for the team news, because that's all important. Would Kilmarnock play Kyle Lafferty from the start after a 10-week ban? I think they might be tempted to, but they have Kyle Vassell there as well. So Celtic, how can you second guess Ange Postecoglou with the depth of squad that he has, but I do think he'll try something today just to try and fool Kilmarnock.
I mean, you would take Hugh's point, weather doesn't decide football matches, Mark, but I'm pretty sure if you asked Ange Postecoglou, okay, here's your choice, you've got driving wind and rain that's going to make the ball do strange things, or you've got nice calm conditions. If you're the so-called big team, the good team, the dominant team, you pick the second one every day. I was going to say,
if I'm a Kilmarnock player, I can tell you, what I prefer. I prefer the conditions like today, that it's windy and difficult for both sides, because it sort of makes it closer, levels the playing field a wee bit. Obviously Celtic have still got the better players who can handle that, but gives you a fighting chance. I've got to say, I don't agree with you in terms of Lafferty. I don't think Lafferty will play.
No.
How can he play after being out for 10 weeks and having no real competitive football to go in a game against Celtic at Hampden?
Would it blur the lines slightly, or should I say, does it make it more likely because he's the obvious one who's got more big game experience than the others in the squad?
No doubt about it. He's a big player. He's played in these occasions so many times. But
do you see what I mean? Would there be more of a temptation because it's him than it would be if it was someone else in the squad?
Of course. His experience alone, the stature he holds, in Scottish football, he's probably regarded as a big player out with Rangers and Celtic. So of course, but if you're bringing someone into the club with Kyle Vassell,
I'm with you, Mark.
I think you've got to play him.
With Mark.
Just quickly, Dander's cutting from the left, the curling shot heading for the Fir Park top corner, but pushed away
what a save
by Liam Kelly.
I hate to say it to you,
we're under a caution.
Yes.
Great save, good save. You expect him to save that, but he's still got to keep it out. But getting back to the Kilmarnock team, I'm with Mark. I don't think Lafferty will be in the starting lineup.
Look, he was banned for good reason, and that ban included not being able to play in friendly matches or development matches and whatever. So I think Tuesday afternoon he got a bit of a bounce game against Queen of the South, and that's it.
We're talking about Ross County and their inability to score goals. They've got 14 for the season. Kilmarnock will only get 3 more. So they are powder puff.
Hugh, I look at Derek McInnes will not be too far away from the team that started at Celtic Park. Now, yes, I will totally admit, like everyone else, Celtic were brilliant second half, could have scored a lot more goals. Kilmarnock were about 2 minutes away from getting in 0-0 at half time, and Celtic not really laying a glove on them until a fantastic ball from Bernabe put Maeda through, crossover, and obviously goals change games at certain times. Up until then, they looked very organised, they looked well drilled, and that's why I think he'll not be too far away, but he's got to make sure it's for 90 minutes, because Celtic just up to pace in the second half, got more goals, and probably should have ran out more comfortable winners.
Ross County are trying to make a case that Ollie Crankshaw caught Jack Baldwin late, no foul, and he has of course been booked already. Is there much in it for you guys?
Not for me,
No.
Gordon, not at all. Crankshaw goes for the ball, Baldwin clears it, but he's making a case. He went down very easily, making a case that there's something untoward there.
Stranraer 0, Albion Rovers 3. Great result that would be
Nice.
for the wee Rovers. Callum Wilson on 54 minutes in that one, so still nothing doing. Dundee United did start the second half as they finished the first with a bit of pressure on Hibs when Kel McGuinness had gone into the book for Hibs as well, so no signs of an upturn yet for Lee Johnson. He could be doing with one quickly.
He certainly could. As I say, the sequence of games with Hearts coming up next weekend in the Scottish Cup. If you lose to Hearts at Easter Road, having lost to Dundee United at Easter Road, your nail is sugglier than any other.
What's the opposite of Jeezy Peeps? Because our both have equalised. Sean Adarkla on 57 minutes. Ayr 1.
Like it.
Arbroath 1. Albion Rovers 4 up at Stranraer now.
Peepsy Jeeps, can we go with that?
No, absolutely not. Charlie Riley, his second there for Albion Rovers. We are, I would guess, minutes away from Team News Celtic fans, so you'll get a nice answer to all your questions. As you there we are, right on cue. I think we do have some. I'll give Andrew McLean a second to come to terms with it, and then we'll bring you any sneak previews or anything doing any real surprises. Andrew McLean, have you got it for us?
I do indeed. There is just one change for Celtic, and I think it will be a surprising one for a few people, because Alistair Johnston is the man that drops to the bench, and in comes Josip Juranovic. People speculating about the future of Josip Juranovic. People thought he might not even still be at the club at this point in the January transfer window. Well, he is, and he's starting in this semi-final against Kilmarnock. So it will be Joe Hart in goal for Celtic. The back four: Josip Juranovic, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Carl Starfelt and Alexandro Bernabe, who continues at left back. The midfield three: Callum McGregor, Rio Hatate and Aaron Moy. The front three: Jota, Dyson Maeda and Kyogo leading the line. The substitutes for Celtic today: Bain, Johnston, Jens, Giacomakis, Abada, Turnbull, Kobayashi, O'Reilly and Forrest.
Well, what do you make of that, Hugh Keevins?
Surprising, because if Celtic get to the cup final, then it's highly unlikely Juranovic will be still at the club. Alistair Johnson, he may have a minor knock or whatever. I'm just surprised by that. He played very, very well on his debut and followed it up with another good performance. And but you're talking about a man whose team in the World Cup finished in third place, Croatia, and now he's in the Celtic team, and he could be doing with a good performance, because he was all over the place at Ibrox when he was brought on in place of the injured Greg Taylor.
I mean, circumstantially it can be a bit of a surprise, Gordon, because he might well be leaving, and Alistair Johnson's been good, but you could also take a very simplistic view of things and say Celtic starting a guy that finished third at the World Cup at right back in a League Cup semi-final is not that much of a surprise.
Yeah, and let's not be kidded here. I'm a big Alistair Johnson fan.
Well, you helped rear him, didn't you?
Yeah, and he will come good, of that there's no doubt. But if you've got two players just now, and I was picking my last game and what right back it would be, I think Juranovic is the best right back in the building. I really do. I think Alistair Johnston will eventually get there. I think he's a terrific player. He's got everything about him. But right now, for me, Juranovic is the best right back the Celtic have got. That makes him stronger.
I have to agree with Daz.
You might have called it, did you not, last week?
Well, last week I just said the way that Hans Postecoglou is, and exactly Daz's points here. When you've got a quality player like Juranovic, it would not surprise me if he played next week. That's what I said last week, and it's proved that if he's fit and he's in the building and his head's in the right place, which you've got to think it is. Some fans will say, his mind's elsewhere because of speculation in the papers. I don't think the majority of footballers work like that. I think he'll be fully focused on the job in hand, and you've got to play him if he's fit.
I did wonder, Andrew McLean, if we would see the often used League Cup goalkeeper, because Benjamin Siegrist has played in goals for Celtic in this tournament against Ross County and against Motherwell. I wondered if it would happen, but I'm right in saying he's not on the bench, is he? So perhaps an injury has played a part here.
Yeah, potentially could be an injury, because it's Scott Bain that's on the bench for them. I did see some pictures midweek of Celtic training, and Connor Hazard was in there as well, so potentially it has been a bit of a knock or something like that for Benjamin Siegrist, which means that Connor Hazard is maybe more in the fold as the third goalkeeper to help out Bain and Joe Hart. So yeah, as you say, no Benjamin Siegrist, which means it will be a start for Joe Hart in this game.
Scott Bain was on the bench last week when Celtic played Kilmarnock at Celtic Park in the league, so clearly there is a problem with Siegrist, but it's a very strong Celtic side. The goalkeeper Joe Hart, you have to be careful with him at times, particularly when the ball's at his feet and in weather such as this, but how much trouble will Kilmarnock be able to put Celtic's way?
The Palmerston Pep's got a job in his hands. Montrose 1, Queen of the South 0. Blair Lions on 62 minutes. Not a good start to league life for Marvin Bartley.
I'll check my check.
To see if he's getting you in. Mark, maybe a couple of months ago, if I'd suggested that Celtic would get to a cup semi-final and Aaron Moy would be preferred to Matt O'Reilly, would you have raised an eyebrow?
Yeah, because like, I was critical of Moy when he first came in. I hold my hands up to that. I thought he looked off the pace. I thought he didn't look like he fitted Ange Postecoglou's mould of how he expected his team to play. And I don't think it would be alone in that, but it's taken him time to kind of build into this side. He went away and had a terrific World Cup, and we're seeing the effects of that now. So no problem at all. Fantastic form. He was unlucky to miss out in the game in Ibrox, but when he came on at Ibrox, I thought he swung the game back in Celtic's favour, and he deserves his place in the side.
Riley's form's dipped, of that there's no doubt. I noticed it at Easter Road that night in the midweek game. He's a terrific player, but sometimes you just come to a club and everything's going so well, you just can't keep performing at that level every single game. Aaron Moy has just grown into this role as a Celtic player. World Cup done him the world of good. More games, fitter, more game time. You can tell he's an exceptional football player. He deserves his chance this afternoon, no doubt of that.
Hibs fans are raging at Easter Road. Dundee United are first to everything. The goalkeeper Dundee United's been given a lecture for time wasting as well. So they're trying to manage that game. Again, whatever your opposite of Jeezy Peep says, it's Ayr 1 or Broth 2 now. Yassin Ben Almani on 63 minutes there.
Phantom old club.
Liam Kelly is doing a fine job in the Motherwell goal, which might concern Stevie Hamill, Alan Burrows, everyone else involved, because if it wasn't for the goalie, things might not be looking like they are currently.
Fraser called it, didn't he? That changing at half time might suit County better, and it certainly worked out that way. I thought Motherwell were by far the better team in the first half and created opportunities. It's just the total opposite this half. And at Easter Road, look, there's ways of losing games, but if the team you're playing against are below you and dictating the play, then the Hibs fans have every right to call it out.
Ross Tierney's come on for Sean Goss. So Goss was on the verge of a second yellow. It's also a bit more of an attacking change, so interesting to see how that works out. We've got one of these
goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
St Johnstone have pulled one back. Is it the start of an unlikely comeback? Is it a mere consolation? Well, it's Jamie Murphy that's got it anyway. Clark's shot was saved initially. In pops Jamie Murphy, and it's now St Johnstone 1, Livingston 3.
Well,
do you think the fans are running to get back into McDermott Park?
Well, there's plenty of space for them.
There's plenty of time left. I wouldn't call it a consolation goal just yet when there's 25 minutes of regulation time and who knows what added on. So Davy Martindale will be conscious of that. I think they'll be stiffening up in defence.
Easter Road sounds like a terrible place to be if you're a home player, fan, whatever. Hugh, it's like the boos are like every few minutes now, like every time something happens it's met with more boos.
I read a terrific piece from Jack Ross this morning, who was sacked by Hibs, and they probably regret that because it started off a chain of events which have not been in Hibs' favour. And he described the job of management today as dehumanising. In other words, people are just cast aside. But I think clubs are entitled to realise that they've made the wrong choice of manager, and the results are going in such a way that they are going to be in trouble. And if that involves a going over from Hearts at Easter Road in the Scottish Cup and being eliminated by your city rivals,
but where
that
does it
intensifies the pressure.
Is that not a contradiction then, though? Because does it not become... When do you start to realise that maybe the guys in the dugout aren't the ones that are the problem? If you're saying that, if you're saying that that this constant change, when do you stop doing that? Because what do you do then? Sack Lee Johnson, next guy comes in, bad start. Do you just keep doing it?
No, I think Hibs' problem is the decision makers are the ones who are in the wrong, because they get rid of Jack Ross and then they brought in another manager who didn't work.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Two big goals, one in particular because Stuart McKinstry has put Motherwell in front. We said in the first half he was the main threat for the Steelmen. Ross County have had the better of the second half, but it's a lovely move on the edge of the box. Ross Laidlaw maybe could do better, gets a good hand to it but can't keep it out, and Stuart McKinstry, the boyhood Motherwell fan, has scored what could turn out to be a crucial goal come the end of the season. And St Johnstone 2, Livingston 3. Connor McLennan on 67 minutes. Let's do Motherwell first. How big a goal is that?
Massive.
Huge.
Absolutely massive. And I've got to say, watching this game, McKinstry deserves it. He's been excellent, Gordon. He's took his good positions up, had a few shots at goals. It's just a ball. They won it in the middle of the park, play it forward. He wins the initial header. Van Veen, great hold up play, lays it on to him. He's still a bit to do. Does the goalkeeper cover himself in glory? No, but we're not bothered about that. Back of the net, 1-0 Motherwell. Something to hold on to now.
Yeah, goalie needs to do better, Mark. I think that's what Malky Mackay will be saying. But Stuart McKinstry on last week scores, gets rewarded with a start, scores. It's the stuff Gordon Dalziel could dream of. You're talking about sitting in these stands, season ticket holder, full family, supporters of the club, and you go and get a goal like that.
I love seeing things like that, and kids that come through the academy, and you know, proper fans. But what a goal is. Daz is right, he's been the bright spark in this game all game, and he's just intelligent. He's playing just off that left hand side, but in that position it's hard to pick up. Comes in, nicks the ball into Van Veen, but continues his run. Van Veen feeds him in brilliantly, and there's no two thoughts in his mind there. Just shoot, get it in target. Goalie should save it, but a good goal.
Yeah, I think Van Veen does brilliant. It really does. He holds it up, he backs in, he gives McKinstry time to get into position. Still a bit to do. Yes, of course, the goalkeeper if you're the opposition, but the home fans will not be worried about that.
What is the Marvin Bartley effect here? We have Livy, who are 3 up, and now it's 3-2, and the defensive coach has gone to Montrose. But I think now Callum Davidson has things in his favour. He's got momentum. They've scored 2 quick goals. He's got time. There's 20 minutes of regulation time left, and even if the game were to stop now, it would look more respectable. He lost to Livy. Celtic and Rangers struggle against Livy. Now it's got a better look about it, but it may not be over yet.
Double change for Hibs. They need something. Jake Doyle-Hayes and Sean McCurdy on for Fish and McGuinness. Fletcher and Middleton booked in quick succession for Dundee United. My apologies. Do you know what threw me? I realised that I had given you the wrong name. It's Harry McCurdy, isn't it?
Yeah, Harry McCurdy. Even the
Sean is also a footballer. And you know that way that what do they call it? Verbal diarrhea, I think. Sorry to put anyone off.
Harry McCurdy is the Mohican.
Well, I was thinking that I think if he inspires Hibs to go on and win this game, you should get the same hairdo as he's got.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
The problem, see, with Hibs players just now, the problem that comes with playing at a big club like Hibs, where you've got a big stadium, the big fan base, is when things aren't going well.
Earlier, didn't we? It can be a burden as well as an inspiration.
When you sign for a club like Hibs, you need to quickly take that on board. You need to quickly learn how to deal with that, because the club wouldn't sign you unless they thought you could deal with it. It's a big argument about players going to Celtic and Rangers, and it's easy playing for Celtic and Rangers. Anything but. It's fine when you're winning 3 and 4-0, but see, when you really need to dig in, the fans are on your back. Are hard places to play.
Just to go back to the point I was making about Hibs, at the top, Ron Gordon, he bins Jack Ross at a time when that just was not a sensible course of action. He brings in Sean Maloney, gives him 19 games, and then sacks him, saying that he knew long before the 19 games were up that he'd made the wrong decision.
Big chance, Ross County, a complete miss kick by Jordan White, 6 yards. Really should have equalised. Sorry, Hugh.
And then he brings in Lee Johnson, and I'm sorry, it's just not working. So he also has his son in charge of player recruitment. Now, why Lee Johnson takes a job under those circumstances that you don't bring or have anything to do with the process of bringing in players, I don't know. But Hibs at the moment, structurally, are in deep bother.
Well, they're recruiting a director of football, aren't they? And I'm sure Lee Johnson would tell you that he has some input into transfers, but if that's the case, he needs to take some blame, as David Friel says earlier. United are dropping out the game a bit now. Josh Campbell with a shot tipped over at the bar, so maybe we've not seen the end of that yet.
Well, we said that there were 3 great stories developing, and it's terrific. Can Motherwell hold on against Ross County? They ought to. 1 goal ought to be enough to win them the match against a team who can't score goals.
County should have scored by now, shouldn't they?
Yeah, they should have, but that's their fault. Dundee United, they may be drifting out of the game, but they've still got Lee Johnson's future in their hands. And in Perth, well, at 3-0, who would have thought it'd be 3-2 with 20 minutes to go?
4-4-2, Dumbarton won an Ali Love penalty, and Andrew McLean has some very interesting Kilmarnock team news for you.
Yep.
Yeah, it is indeed, because there's changes of personnel and it looks like a change of system as well. Out go Stokes, Polworth and Robinson. In come Armstrong, Donnelly and Kyle Lafferty, back from his 10-match ban, of course, suspended for the use of sectarian language. He's not been able to play any bounce games, he's not been able to play any friendlies whatsoever, but he's straight back in at Hampden against Celtic. And when you look at the changes as well, it looks as if it could be a 4-4-2 for Kilmarnock today. You look at the tweet from the official club account, it says 2 up top as part of that tweet. It looks as if it will be Lafferty and Vassell up top together, and I think it will be Sam Walker starting in goal for Kilmarnock. The back 4, Lewis Mayo, Ash Taylor, Joe Wright and Ben Crescenny. It's a midfield 4 of Danny Armstrong, Alan Power, Liam Donnelly and Rory McKenzie, Kyle Lafferty and Kyle Vassell up top. The substitutes: Hemming, Stokes, Alabiosu, McEnroy, Alston, Polworth, Jones, Robinson and Doidge. When you look at that side, there is a potential it could still be 5 at the back. Maybe Lewis Mayo pushes into a back 3 with Ash Taylor and Joe Wright, Crescenny as the left wing back, maybe Danny Armstrong or Rory McKenzie as the right wing back. Still would be the 2 up top, Kyle Lafferty and Kyle Vassell. Though I'll just give you a recap of that Celtic team as well. Joe Hart in goal, Josip Juranovic the only change for them. He comes in for Alistair Johnson. It's then Cameron Carter-Vickers, Carl Starfelt and Alexandro Bernabe. The midfield 3, Callum McGregor, Rio Hatate and Aaron Moy, Dyson Maida and Jota either side of Kyogo. The referee for this one at Hampden today is Willie Collum, and the VAR is Greg Aitken.
See, Hugh, Kyle Lafferty starts. What was all the fuss? Why don't these guys listen to you? You never get your predictions wrong.
If Hibs are looking for a director of football, I am available. Lafferty will get terrible abuse from the Celtic fans. Let's be perfectly clear about that, because of the nature of his offence, and it was a shameful incident. But he's on the park, I think, because he and Vassell are capable of giving Carl Starfelt in particular a very awkward afternoon. Starfelt just can't handle this kind of thing. But Carter Vickers will need to work doubly hard. That's unless Celtic cut off the supply altogether. Celtic have to take the game to Kilmarnock early on, front foot, and put it to bed, basically.
Kyle Lafferty's one thing, but it looks like Kilmarnock are going to give it a bit of a go, Mark. Two strikers, if you like, whether they both operate in that area or not, but it looks like they're going to.
Well, it'll be interesting. I think they played with periods of the game last week with 2 up top out of possession, but they maybe went with an extra body at the back. If it's 4-4-2 like Andrew was saying there, then I would fear for them. Playing that way against this Celtic side, you'd be outnumbered in the middle of the park, in wide areas as well. It's a tall task for them. But Lafferty, you might be right, he's a presence up there. I would argue with the fact that Starfelt, can he deal with this sort of thing? I think sometimes Starfelt's better when his only duty is to defend and defend his box. Sometimes when he's in possession and he gets too much time to think, I feel he maybe let himself down a bit. But Lafferty's in there to make an impact, and we'll see what 10 weeks on the sideline does for your fitness. Maybe he's an incredibly fit lad. I don't know how he trains. Derek McInnes obviously seen enough though that he thinks he can start.
I think Kilmarnock fans coming up to 77 will be happy with that, Gordon. Two strikers up top. I don't think it will be 4-4-2. I totally agree with Mark. I think that would be playing right into Celtic's hands. Be 5-3-2, 3-5-2, try to get the wing backs high up the pitch.
Just in case you didn't, I'm not saying this is gospel, by the way, but I'm genuinely pointing out in case you didn't catch Andrew saying it. When Kilmarnock tweeted their team, the actual tweet says 2 up top, and then has the players listed.
Yeah.
So, just in case, because you said I don't think it'll be 2 up top. They're
no. I know.
Publicising that it is meant to be.
No, I sorry if you picked out wrong. I think I said it won't be a 4-4-2. I think they'll play 2 up top, but they'll play a 5-3-2 or a 3-5-2. They'll give themselves extra defender. I said I agreed with Mark. 4-4-2 opens themselves up a little bit. I think Kilmarnock fans coming up the road will be delighted with 2 strikers up top.
The what, sorry?
Delighted.
Coming up the
77.
Thank you.
Up the road there. You didn't specify which road it was.
Well, I've
we're that
already
used
said.
to your road
And
nonsense.
I think it's positive for the Kilmarnock fans, because see, at the end of the day, this cup football, it's a chance to get to final, semi-final. There's no point putting everybody behind the ball, one up top, then Celtic eventually break you down.
I think that's came from the manager. What? To put it in social media, 2 up top, to let the fans actively know right from the off, we're coming here to be positive.
The tweet says your starting 11 for this evening's Viaplay League Cup semi-final. It says Walker in goal, Power the captain, 2 up top, and then it's got the graphic with the team on it.
Look, they'll have to get up the pitch, so they've got a better chance with the experience of Lafferty up there.
This is all good, very good, but I missed the opportunity.
Oh, Jeezy Peeps, man.
Ayr have equalised, so it's Ayr 2 are both 2. So there we go. So, well, look, it's certainly interesting. Because we have these debates every week, don't we? Or every other week when teams come to Glasgow. Sorry, Ange, I know he doesn't like the lumping together. We know that they're different teams, different strengths. Generally speaking, it's a very simple debate of, do they park the bus or do they go for it? And we get frustration. This is a cup tie, it is a cup semi-final. Simply sitting there is never going to be enough for you.
No, but it's enough to annoy and frustrate the Celtic fans, and for it all to get shouty. That's why I say, if Celtic apply themselves to the peak of their ability, then they will have it sorted out. It's all about how Celtic approach this match, and in Jota, Kyogo, Maeda, they have players who could burn up the ground there and give Kilmarnock a terrible time at the back. But I get, at Celtic Park last weekend, Kilmarnock were defensive. They almost got to half time with 0-0, and then Kyogo struck, so they have to hope.
Jeezy Peeps, man.
With Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Oh, Jeezy Peeps indeed. Jordi Hewilla for Ross County. 80 minutes on the clock. He grabs the ball, races out the goal. They fancy going on and winning this, and Motherwell have been pegged back. What a nervy 10 minutes this is going to be for both sides. He's just on as a sub. Liam Kelly, the Motherwell captain, can't keep it out, and we are level in the rain at Fir Park.
If we thought some of the goals against Hibs were bad defensively, then this isn't any better at all. As simple as it comes, played up, just knocked through. Motherwell back 4, so square, it's unreal. And Ross County just who's scored? Hanula just runs off the back of the full back 4. Nobody follows them. Easy as you like for Ross County.
2 centre backs once again, Gordon. You know that Jordan White's got a bit hard from there. You've got to go and attack, but if you're the other centre back, you've got to be aware that you might lose the ball. It's totally switch off. It's honestly, it's terrible defending. I keep going back to it. I was delighted the Motherwell went in the transfer market, brought in a couple of attacking players, but if you cannot look at this Motherwell team and realise you're going to concede goals every single game, then you've got a problem. That's the easiest goal you'll give up.
We've got a goal at McDermott Park. Is it the complete recovery, or is that game maybe swinging back towards Livy?
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
It's another for Livingston. They're 4-2 in front. It was another now, a double for James Penrice. Brilliant left foot high into the net, and that might be that. It was a spirited comeback, or it looked like it for a spell, from St Johnstone. But St Johnstone 2, Livy 4, game of the day.
Yeah, and that is that. You're not going to have St Johnstone coming back. They've done well to get to 3-2, but 4-2 is a sickener. And well done to Davy Martindale and all concerned at Livingston. They will go above Aberdeen in the league table. Given the comparison between Aberdeen's budget and Livy's budget, that is incredible that Livy go above them in the league table.
I think this Motherwell came here, and I'm wondering how often Sondre Johansson can keep making the same mistakes and then keep getting picked to play in the team. The goal is horrific, and And just there again, I'm looking at the movement of the Ross County frontmen when it goes wide, exactly the same as Kevin Nisbet last week. It gets dragged back the way if the ball's better. Ross County are in again.
Hugh, Brighton are 3-0 up against Liverpool.
Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, John Bishop, your boys are taking a real beating from the Seagulls.
I wonder where he was going. I did not expect John Bishop to be the next one. Well, I thought he was going to go Atomic Kitten or something.
I met John Bishop at the Cup final involving Liverpool. Nice, very nice man.
Aye, good on you.
Big Liverpool fan. But my grandson is wrong. Archie told me it'd be 2-1, but he didn't know there'd be 3 goals in the game. So when I go, you better hire him.
Incredible, 3-0 to Brighton. And what a result that is going to be, because you couldn't see a comeback from that. Only 9 minutes left. Do Hibs have anything in them? That would be the next story, Hugh. There's that, and is anything going to give at Fir Park? That's the two that you're looking at now.
Yeah, exactly. The Hibs fans will find it completely unacceptable if Dundee United win, and good luck to Dundee United if they do get the points. But the Hibs fans will find it entirely unacceptable, and it would be a bad night in North Lanarkshire if Ross County squeeze a late winner here.
I think even a draw in that, Gordon, it doesn't do you any major damage, but you're running out of games. You can't beat Kilmarnock at home, you can't beat Hibs at home, you can't beat Ross County at home. It wouldn't be disastrous, but it wouldn't fill you with any sort of confidence whatsoever that Motherwell don't finish the season in a really bad place.
Yeah, listen, I've every confidence right now, unless Motherwell can get 3 points here, that they are going to finish in a bad place, unless they go into the transfer market and sort out what obviously is becoming a headache to them. Their defence is absolutely terrible, Gordon. They're giving away goals left, right and centre. Look, I think Stevie Hamill, Brian Kerr would be quite happy if they scored a wonder goal against them, but they must sit there and go, we are working in that every single day. Same mistake. Got to be different personnel in there for me.
County fancy it. Olagby on for Edwards. They're going to go for it. What can Motherwell do? Will we get a winner? Will it be a share of the spoils? Probably doesn't really help anyone, but Malky Mackay probably would be the happier on the road, so we'll keep an eye there. Dundee United are under proper pressure now, so it'll be interesting to see if they can hold out. Hibs are going for it despite the negativity that they've had to endure from the home stands for a lot of this game.
I don't think it should have waited to this time before Hibs put United under a bit of severe pressure. I'm sure the Hibs fans would have expected.
I think it's been coming for a bit though. It's been a bit of a sustained period.
After half time, when you said that Dundee United were knocking the ball a bit well, again, it's the problem. Hibs fans would have expected an instant reaction, and it's taken them time to build that up, and then of course you just run out of time. So it doesn't look good again for Lee Johnson this afternoon.
4,500 Motherwell fans, Gordon. I think January, freezing cold, a home game against Ross County. You're nearly bottom of the league. That's actually not bad. That's a decent, and I don't think they'll be too impressed with what's happening.
I think it's better than not bad, Gordon. I think it's terrific. I really do. It just shows you the working we're talking about. The man that's stepping down, Alan Burrows, and what the community and everything that they've put into the club has helped, and we're getting a response with the supporters. But you know what like it is in football. You have got to get results, and so far the results are not coming.
There's a problem, Daz. You get a chance. Ross County by far the better team in the second half. You get a chance as a corner and to throw one in. Tierney swings it in, misses everybody all the way over and hits the other corner flag.
It's the window, isn't it? It's the wind going towards the flat.
Well,
I could find a couple of the mitre balls in my living room tonight when I go home.
McGrath on for Fletcher for Dundee United, so maybe going a bit more defensive, but even some Hibs fans are applauding the former Hibs striker as he goes off. I don't know about that. Do we like that?
Yeah, I
thought Scottish football, what is it? It runs on
spite, malice and mistrust.
Spite, sportsmanship. I like that.
No, this tells me the Hibs fans are saying, do you know what? We're so bad. He's so bad as the manager. We're going to applaud Stephen Fletcher. He did us a turn when he was here. We don't like what's happening here. We want change.
You would applaud a ex-Motherwell man getting off, surely. That came to the club and produced.
Not if they were beating you and you were in a bad place. I think that adds to it, does it not?
Turnbull, would you applaud Turnbull coming back?
Turnbull. Oh yeah, it was great when he popped one in the top corner at Fir Park last season. I don't think anyone
Gordon would run down with his towel. There you go. Yeah.
No thanks. Football fans are allowed to be fickle, are they not?
Yeah, of course, yeah. But that tells me they're beyond fickle now. They're just
looking for anybody to cheer.
Yeah, they're disillusioned with everything. And this Hearts game in the Cup next Saturday, dear me.
I feel like I've neglected the teaser a bit, Hugh, because we've been so distracted with all the action on the pitch. So let's see who managed to get over the line.
The second half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
I have played alongside Emiliano Martinez and Robbie Fowler. I have been managed by Jack Ross and Carlos Carvalhal. I have played in an English major domestic cup final. A team of mine won a major European cup final, but I wasn't in the matchday squad, and I spent over 2 seasons in Scotland. I am Glenn Louvens.
Glenn Louvens. I've got really disturbing news for you, that even if you got that right, none of you got it as quickly as Mark Wilson and Gordon Dalziel. So let that ruin your weekend if you can. Alan Kirker was pretty fast though. He was in 3rd place. A. Allingham 90 was in 2nd place, and Dylan Patton is the winner of the second half teaser. They know their Glenn Louvens. Well done, you two.
Teamwork. Well, great. It was
Daz gave us the teams. Yep, I got the name.
Yeah, you just scribbled down Chef Wed and Sunderland, and then I saw Mark pop up with Glenn Luke. Great teamwork.
It was. I was delighted with that.
I don't know how much credit you should take for just writing down 2 teams.
Well, you'd never got there, mate. You never got down there,
mate. Listen, you've been hanging out with Ange too long.
I know.
First of all, you've been coughing like him all afternoon.
I think he's trying to style himself a bit on Ange since Ange came to this country.
What do you mean?
Remember you went for the stubble and the beard, didn't you? And the cough all of a sudden.
I can only apologise. I have got a terrible cough.
How do you think the Pep, the Palmerston Pep will take this? They've got a penalty to equalise, and it's been blazed over the bar.
Oh my goodness! He really should be considering his position now.
Of course, they won on penalties in the Challenge Cup during the week, but not so fortunate today.
The way football is, there will be some fan out there saying this definitely wasn't the right appointment.
Well, our other managerial pundit is not having a great time either. Falkirk 3, Clyde 0. Callum Morrison on 88 minutes. Hibs are trying. They've brought Melkerson on for McGeady to try and get that equaliser that they're searching for. And if there's going to be a winner at Fir Park, it certainly looks like it will be the visiting side, Gordon.
Yeah, Ross County really been positive, throwing everything at it.
4 minutes added.
4 minutes added, but right now I would take a draw, I've got to say, because I'm a bit concerned about this backline.
At least the draw doesn't write any more dramas. You are where you were at 3 o'clock, and that's okay. You stumble on to the next one.
I think that is the problem when you get these games and they're home games.
You're one game closer then to being in bother, and it's one so-called easier game less as well, isn't it?
And then you're 1-0 up. You want to get that sort of a tag of the home form off your back. You've got a broth, right? Forget the cup, forget that, because it will be difficult. No matter if you won the day, a brothage always difficult. You're going to a St Mirren team that their home record's terrific so far this season. So I just think this is a missed opportunity if we can't get 3 points.
Nearly a Rocky Bushiri own goal. That would have gone down well. There was a mix-up, but the ball ends up going wide. Big result in League 2 because Dumbarton have lost at 4-4.
Oh no.
So 4-2. Dumbarton won. Cove Rangers have steadied the ship a bit under Paul Hartley. 2-2 at home to Wraith after being battered in the last couple.
That's another one from the Lee Johnson Book of Wacky Words. He said he would take £10 million for Rocky Bushiri. You're right, you'll never get offered it.
Just backing his player or something along those
what you
lines.
look forward to now is Lee Johnson's press conferences after the game. Today, there's one manager I'm looking forward to hearing, and it's him, to see what he has to say about that, or what soundbite he has, or who he's blaming for this one. Sometimes a manager, you're best served just taking the blame on your shoulders yourself. No, exactly. You're the type of guy that would point the finger at everybody.
The players get away too lightly in football, Mark. You're given a responsibility. Go out there and do your job. If you can't do it, you should take the blame. That's as far as I'm concerned.
Ross County had a half decent chance there, and they've made a very tame effort of it. So Motherwell living dangerously.
Yeah, it was a good block. Olagby set up White. had the clear shot. Actually, a good block this time by Solholm. If he's been getting some stick, then it's
the
only
only
fair.
good thing is Jordan White will not score at Fir Park. He couldn't do it with a Motherwell strip.
You say that,
Rangers.
you say that, but he has scored for County against.
Has he at Fir
I'm
Park?
sure. I'm not sure. I think so. Maybe I'm making that
So
up.
long
There's every
as he
chance.
stayed on the Fir Park pitch.
There's every chance. Alloa 2, FC Edinburgh 1's a full-time result as well. Again, doesn't look like too many long delays in the Premiership. No major VAR decisions yet. Maybe there's still time.
If you're a Motherwell fan just
look
now,
away, yeah.
you're living dangerously. Couple of minutes left, but when the ball's bouncing about in your box and you're not defending well of recent times, then
this is when you really need a
Wanna be
wisher just
confident.
to run the clock down. He would just run it right up there, right up the road,
See
right
the
into
ease-
Dale Estate.
yeah.
Keep going. He'd
ease
been
teams-
whistle in the next 5 minutes.
with ease teams getting into the Motherwell box, unbelievable. You know, no pressure on the first ball, no pressure when the ball gets into the box.
Look at that flag. Look at the
I
wind,
know.
Gordon. I'm glad I've not got my wash in it.
Your curtains about running down
my
Fir
house,
Park Street.
my house has got to be in some state, I'll tell you.
Why would you leave the windows
Because I do it
open?
all the time. I always have the windows open. And I don't worry about MD breaking in, because you'd need to be Spider-Man.
Ross County actually
So
can't.
if MD breaks in my house, it's Spider-Man.
They can't take the corner because the ball is blowing off the corner spot.
Done it again.
Yeah, just call this one off. I think that's for the best. Big result in Lanarkshire though. South Lanarkshire, Hamilton
result.
Accies won, Morton 0.
I gave you that top of the show,
You did.
Gordon.
You did, yeah. Oh, Marvin.
Yeah, the Palmerston Peps lost out. Montrose
dear.
won, Queen of the South, and it's full time at Fir Park. Fraser.
It's full time, Motherwell 0, Ross County 0. A few boos from the Motherwell supporters at the final whistle, because it's as you were at the bottom of the table. I think a share of the points was probably fair. Motherwell had the better of the first half. County much better in the second, and Jordi Hewilla equalised an opening goal by the best player on the pitch, Stuart McKinstry, the young Motherwell winger. The home side the better the first half. McKinstry, the biggest danger to County. 10 minutes he cut inside and curled a low right foot shot. It beat the goalkeeper, hit the post and came out. Then 7 minutes later, same area of the box, this time he cut onto his left side, and his fierce left foot shot was pushed away by Laidlaw at the post. Max Johnson tested the goalkeeper. The left foot shot again saved by Laidlaw, but County hadn't really had an effort at Kelly's goal at all in the first 45 minutes. I think Malcolm Mackay been quite happy with 0-0 at the break, but they did come out and play much better in the second half. County, great chance in 51 minutes. Jan Danda, who played well in the second 45, crossed to the left hand side, and Jordan White was running into the box, running onto the ball. I thought it was a fairly simple header, but his free header from 8 yards out went wide. He should at least have hit the target. Danda then decided he would just try and do it on his own, and tried his luck cutting from the left hand side and was curling the ball, aiming for the top left hand corner, and Liam Kelly dived to push the ball away. Motherwell had a decent spell. Paul McGinn threw himself a Sean Goss corner, but he headed over from 6 yards under real pressure. Then Penny drove into the box and he hit the side netting at the near post with his shot when he should have gone across the goalkeeper. But then Danda was again showing us his threat, and another good effort from 20 yards. Again, good save by Liam Kelly, diving low to his left. But the opener came in 68 minutes, and Motherwell did well to take the lead. Van Veen showed really good strength, and a lovely short pass to set McKinstry through. Young winger had a really good, strong, low shot. I thought Laidlaw maybe should have done better. He got a hand to it, but he couldn't stop the ball rolling into the back of the net. But County weren't out of it. A low Harmon cross into the 6 yard box, complete miss kick by White with his left foot, and the ball went out, almost went out for a throw in. He was only 6 yards out. And then 80 minutes, the equaliser did come. Poor defending by Motherwell. Jordi Wheeler ran in behind the two centre backs. No one of them followed his run, and the striker 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper finished low between Kelly's legs. A better point for County. I think Malcolm McCann will be pretty happy with it. Motherwell's poor home continues, and they remain in 10th place, too close for comfort, just 3 points ahead of County at the bottom. Full time at Fir Park. Motherwell 0, Ross County 0. Sorry, Motherwell 1, Ross County 1.
What about this from Easter Road?
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
And it might be a three-way as you were at the bottom, because Hibs have equalised in the 92nd minute, and it's that man Kevin Nisbet, red hot goal scoring form since he returned to the team. A hat-trick last week, a double this afternoon, and right at the death, Hibs 2, Dundee United 2. Hugh Keevins.
Kevin Nisbet is single-handedly keeping the wolf from the door at Easter Road. That is a major goal for Lee Johnson. It will not please the fans that it was only a draw at home. However, disaster has been averted, and they can go back and examine their performance, but while knowing that Kevin Nisbet is in sensational form.
And it's full time as well, David Friel.
Full time, Gordon. Hibs 2, Dundee United 2. Kevin Nisbet is in sensational form, and I think Lee Johnson will be giving him a big hug today, because he may just have saved them from fresh scrutiny and maybe even the sack. Yeah, 92nd minute equaliser. Hibs did not deserve it. They were still booed at the end. It's not that the full time whistle led to scenes of celebration or anything like that. Hibs fans know they probably got away with one today, but Kevin Nisbet, 7 goals in 6 games since he came back from his major knee operation. He's in unbelievable form. Surely a Scotland recall beckons, but for just now it's all about Hibs, and Lee Johnson owes him one. Hibs were all over the place in opening stages. United took the lead in 6 minutes. Arnaud Djoum crossed in, Stephen Fletcher flicked on, and Glenn Middleton found the top corner. Hibs were poor. Kilmarnock against did hit the bar, but United were playing a better stuff. Stephen Fletcher had a couple of good chances, probably should have scored, but then Nisbet hauled Hibs back into the game in 25 minutes. Josh Campbell picked him out, he shifted the ball to his right and then fired a brilliant finish into the bottom corner. Within 5 minutes, half an hour, United were back ahead, and a great move ended with Ian Hart racing into the box. He cut inside and then sent a deflected shot over David Marshall. There was loud booing at half time, and everyone expected a big Hibs reaction after the break. It didn't really materialise straight away. It took a while for them to gradually start to apply more pressure. Josh Campbell, he was really good actually, he had an effort tipped over. Hibs threw on Harry McKirdy, they just went for it. Elias Melkerson, in the last 20 minutes they really started to press for a goal. United were getting a bit deep, but you thought they'd weather the storm. Mark Birighitti, who'd been warned about time wasting 10 minutes into half, barely had a save to make, and then the final chance, ball into the box, fell to Nisbet, again he shifted to his right, and again his finish was unbelievable. So Lee Johnson does get away with one, Hibs get away with one. Harsh in Dundee United, but full time, Hibs 2, Dundee United 2.
Wow, what a game, and also quite the game at McDermott Park. Let's hear from Dave Galloway.
Yes, St Johnstone 2, Livingston 4. It was a good strong start by St Johnstone, but out of nothing Livingston scored on 8 minutes. Stephen Kelly with a low drive from the edge of the box. Wotherspoon combined well with May to send it across, right across the Livy goalmouth, but there were no takers, and the visitors duly doubled the lead after 15 minutes. Bradley set up Devlin to cut the ball back for Stephen Kelly, arriving late to score with a fine finish. The home side came so close to pulling one back following a corner. George pulling off a fantastic save to keep out Clark's header. But in 40 minutes, Livy went 3-0 up following a corner kick. Anderson's effort was helped in from close range by Penrice. A chorus of boos greeted the half-time whistle, and fans were already streaming for the exits. Saints boss Callum Davidson made a few substitutions to try and turn things around, and they pulled the goal back after 65 minutes. Murphy pouncing on the loose ball after George saved from Clark. Their tails were certainly up when they scored a second just 2 minutes later. McLennan netting at the back post after George parried Murphy's effort. The home side were piling on the pressure. Murphy curled one in from the left-hand side, which wasn't far away, but it was 4-2 Livy after 81 minutes with a simply stunning strike by Penrice from distance high into the net, with the excellent Stephen Kelly the provider. So that's 5 losses in a row for Saints, and Livy are now up to 4th place. St Johnstone 2, Livingston 4.
Quite the day already, Hugh Keevins, and we're only just getting started.
Dave Galloway's last stat there is the most chilling. St Johnstone 5 defeats on the bounce, and next Saturday they have Rangers in the Scottish Cup. Terrible times for the club, who are looking for a buyer, don't forget, and who have the conflict going on between the club's hierarchy and the supporters because of the 3 stands given to Rangers for the cup tie. Bad times.
What a day it's been, and there's still plenty of action to come. It's a bit of a strange open line. We tried our best. We sent Hugh Keevins down to Hampden with a box of chocolates for Neil Doncaster. Tried to say, look, a 5:30 kick-off on a Saturday is no good for Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line, but he turned Hugh away like most people do, and you're stuck with it. 0141 951 1025. The lines are open. You can call in. You can give us your thoughts on the games today. Maybe you Motherwell fans, how do you feel after that? Is it just as worrying? Yes, it's another point, it's as you were, but you're starting to fear the worst after failing to get another victory. Any other suggestions from the games that have taken place? What about St Mirren fans? Last night, this handball, come on, I know how you feel. You always think the wee teams and the decisions go against you. He doesn't get the same publicity, so now's your chance. 0141 951 1025, and we will build up to kick off at Hampden and take you through some of that action as well. So give us a call and we'll speak to you next.
after the action.